the holistic approach of how a publisher is able to provide success to their brand, right? And I think a lot of people don't simply understand that because they mix the console war with actual conversation in gaming and stuff, right? And I guess it's cool. I understand there's a time to talk shit, console war, whatever. But then there's a time, like, if you really want to complain about a brand, which everyone has a right to, then you have to look at it holistically on what that brand is trying to do, right? Because if you only target one part of that brand, then yes, like one of the things I always found funny is, multi-platform owners that complain about the other platforms that is not their main platform. Regardless if it's Xbox or vice versa or Nintendo, I always find that weird, right? So like for the people that said like, hey, I primarily play on Xbox, I only play PlayStation for exclusives. Oh man, this thing hardly has any games. Well, you're only playing the exclusives, and you're not even playing every exclusives. Yeah. Because I could tell them, hey, did you play Grand Blue Fantasy? Oh, I don't like JRPGs. Okay. Hey, did you play Detroit Become Human? Oh, no, I don't like those, narrative style games.
Narrative style games.
So what do you like? God of War. That's one fucking game. You're not going to get 10 God of Wars a year when you with this console, Like, like if you're going to play exclusives, and the exclusives that does come out, you make an excuse not to play them, then you literally are just chopping every single thing, and you only bought the console for like 3 games. Spider-Man, God of War, and maybe Ghost of Tsushima. Well, then that's all you're gonna get, and that's the only enjoyment. So the console don't suck because you limit yourself and reduce yourself down to like 3 games or to 3 first party, right?
Yeah.
So right now this year, really, when you think about it, PlayStation is the only one most people are really talking about in terms of games to play. Because I'm not even hearing much from Nintendo. I think
Nintendo.
I'm not even sure what came out.
So
I'm not even sure what's going on in that house. But right now, when people talk about games, it's primarily the PlayStation right now that's kicking off 2024. Grand Blue Fantasy, Rise of Ronin, Helldivers, Final Fantasy Rebirth, right? And some people will dismiss. Some people will dismiss, that's third party, that's this, that. No. That's Sony's plan. And that's
always been their plan.
That's always been their strength. Exactly. Yep. PlayStation's plan as a publisher, that's why I always said, like, when you want to look at a brand and where it's going, pay attention to what the publisher does. Because they're the ones that's supposed to architect the success of the console. And the publishers of PlayStation throughout the generations has always done, this is the strength of our first party. This is the strength of our second party relationships. And this is the strength of our third party. They look at it holistically and through all avenues try to make the best for the people who buy PlayStation, right? Yeah. Hey, we got our first party.
They should do.
Hey, we got some IPs, but all our first party are busy. Hey, let's establish some second party relationships. Hey, make this game that we own for us. Cool. Hey, third party. Hey, we like that game. Can we make it exclusive, time exclusive? No, we can't do that. Hey, how about some extra missions and stuff? Like, we want to do something for our specific fan base that made the decision to buy the PlayStation. It's holistically every single step of the way, right? And people, forgot about that. People forgot. You got to look at the publisher and what it's doing across the board for the console brand, right?
Yeah,
and they've
had an eclectic launch, for 2024. So it's and they've only put out 2 to 3 AAA games a year, and one of those includes MLB The Show. So they do that, and they've always been supplemented by 2 to 3 other second and third party games. So that's reality. It's just this year everything they've bunched it all together. I thought Stella Blade would come out in June. I thought it was going to be that way. They would have something in the summertime, but they're just going to run with MLB for the summer, and at least that's what it seems like they're doing. But it's definitely interesting the way they've launched, and it will be interesting to see what they do for the rest of the year. That's kind of where we're at. Now, I know tomorrow they, not Sony, but they are going to show all the Marvel games that are coming out. So maybe we get a whiff of that Venom DLC or whatever we're supposed to get with the Spider-Man 2. Maybe we'll get the DLC announcement tomorrow. Is when I'm fingers crossed. I'll be at work, but I'll monitor the internet. But that Captain America game, Black Panther Captain America, I'm like, wow, I'm buying that. That looks and that was rendered in real time. What you were seeing was rendered in real time. So, geez, like
listen,
they got
as you should. Mm-hmm. Support your single player games. Support your single ladies.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Support your single ladies.
Support single mothers. All right.
Oh, have you heard that song? That single mom song that's out?
No.
Somebody released it on YouTube. It is brutal. I mean, it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds of just brutalist on single mothers.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, listen. Like there's and YouTube, like, it's funny because it tries to force feed this shit, and I'm like, no, but like shit like Fet and Fish podcast or what is it, whatever podcast, all these dating, like. Yo, and maybe it's off topic, and maybe the chat. Does this happen to you? Like, do they just like throw all that bullshit like on your homepage, and like they like, and I don't click and watch on those shows, right? Well, I did click on it once, right? I think I saw Fresh and Fit podcast for like 10 minutes, and then I saw the whatever podcast because people recommended, like, oh, it's good, whatever. Yeah. And I look at it, I'm like, hold up, and this is my issue with all those shows. You got these guys on a podcast talking about marriage, how to make it work, how to don't make it work, and none of them are fucking married.
And they're talking to a bunch. Yeah, they're talking to a bunch of 22 to 26-year-old girls.
And every girl they add is either someone on OF or Instagram influencer. I'm like, why the fuck am I gonna listen to dudes who were never married? None of them. None of them were married. None of them got married. Like, get the fuck out of here. That would be like me listening to a gaming podcast by people who never played a game. Shut the fuck up. You're out your fucking goddamn mind. Like, I'm not listening to it. None of this shit makes sense. I'm like, you out your mind. I'm not. I can't do it. So I try to avoid all that weird shit, right? It's just weird shit. Like, that's the best advice I could give to you guys. Do not listen to podcasts about marriage without knowing if the guys who host a podcast are married. If they're not married, they can shut the fuck up. They gotta be married. They gotta go through it. At least be divorced and go through the pain, but you gotta go through the steps. I ain't trying to hear no bullshit about a dude who's never been married. Get the fuck out of here. Like, whatever. Anyway, but I'm glad you're here and stuff like that. I got septic sauce. Got septic sauce, aka GaaS. He's here. Or he's in the chat. I'm like, hey. He got podcast rights. I know he did. Let me make sure. He could just jump in if he wants to. I would love him. I gotta go back into my invitation mode. I gotta start getting more people. Yeah, I gotta start getting more people up on the channel and stuff like that, right? To get stuff like that. I've been doing a terrible job of setting that up. But I know everybody's busy and all that stuff. But I still gotta reach out to more people, get them up on here and stuff like that, right? I think the chat would like that and stuff like that. But
I agree. Yeah.
So welcome my friends, my family, my fellow gamers, the only friend these YouTube streets, Porterock77. GaaS does like P-Rock. They both love the console. Hell yeah. See, GaaS and I are yin and yang. We are the opposing. No, really, no, I'm not even gonna lie. GaaS and Nick, those two, they gotta have their own podcast. They are destined, absolutely destined, because dumb dudes is hilarious. They were meant to fight this eternal, like, an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. They were meant. They gotta have a podcast together, because them two is just hilarious. But of course, everybody loves me except for IGN, who gave me a 3, who rated me a 3.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm just gonna say. Well, for the people thinking, Porter, what are you talking about? IGN rated you a 3. I'm gonna show you. So, like, I was just scrolling this morning, and then I'm just scrolling. I was just glancing, right, and I'm gonna put it on the screen for everybody to see. So this popped up, right, but was I was scrolling, right? I was scrolling. Then all of a sudden I saw this and I saw this. This is what I saw. And I'm like, what the fuck? No, because it was quick. It was like mad quick, right? I'm like, and then I saw my face doing a podcast review score 3. And I'm like, what the fuck? IGN out here reviewing podcasts and I get a 3? Puerto Rock tax. Yo, I'm like, because I'm Puerto Rican with a New York cap. Bullshit. Ain't no fucking way my shit's that bad. I mean, granted, my shit ain't perfect, right? It ain't perfect. Maybe, you know, the Blue Yeti's out of style. Got it. My camera's 1080p. It ain't full 4K. It's 60
you need 4K, 60 frames.
I got the frames though. I got the frames though. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I could do better with the. You put a 3. I'm like, oh shit! This guy got me rated down to golem levels. I'm like, what the fuck? Puerto Rock tax, bro. I was like, yo, hey, yo. You know what I'm saying? But then I realized they were talking about Rise of Ronin and stuff. But for a minute, I'm like, yo, they out here already, and they do me like this? Yo, I was about to say, this is a tax, bro. Like, this bullshit, you know, but that shit.
You're such a good host when your guests come in, you don't even give a shit about them.
Listen. No. See. I told you the last time. I told you the first time you were my guest. Now you shut your mouth, get in the fridge, grab a good beer, and bring me one, because we're going to have some fun in the living room. We're going to watch the game.
Don't even get a high.
No, just, hey, like if you knock on the door, we're just going to let you keep knocking. Like, does he not know the door's unlocked? I'm like, I guess he doesn't know. He's just going to stand down there. Just walk in, grab a brewski, you know, don't grab the American piss water. You know, we got German beer in this house. So I learned my lesson living in Europe. Like, I'm gonna be honest, living in Europe, I can't drink American beer no more. I can't.
Was it that much better?
Oh yes.
Yeah, European beer is much. It's heavier.
I would imagine English beer is also better.
Yeah,
I don't drink. So
you don't drink? Oh yeah, okay. You don't. Oh, so you never did God Save the Queen? I learned that lesson the hard way. What? You mean you don't drink? So in 2017, I was actually in where's Edinburgh? In Scotland or Ireland? I think it's in Ireland. But anyway, Edinburgh, right? We did like a
where's Edinburgh, did you say?
Edinburgh, yeah. It's in Ireland, right?
Yeah, Scotland.
Scotland, there you go. So I was there for 3 weeks training with the British MI battalion, right? So we would, you know, join exercise, whatever. Then we had like 2 days off, right? So they took me on the town. I was hanging out with them. All of a sudden, I had this big pint of beer, huge. I'm like, all right, got it. Ooh. All of a sudden, a guy drops a coin with Queen Elizabeth, and they all started singing God Save the Queen. And I'm like, what's going on? They say, oh, you got to drink all that before we're finished or she drowns. I'm like, what the fuck? And like the whole bar was looking at me singing. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, and then I learned, like, I put my drink under my shirt to cover it because everybody kept trying to put a goddamn coin inside the goddamn drink. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this shit. Like, yo, I'm gonna let the bitch, I'm gonna let her drown if you keep doing this shit. Like, I can't, it was an incredible game, but they caught me on that one, and then they all started singing this song, and I'm looking around like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, you gotta drink up, or you know, because, and I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, what happens
I think they made that game up?
I think so.
The Scottish are fond of the Queen anyway.
What? I know, but they started singing God Save. Well, remember, this is the military guys too, so.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So it might be a military specific game that they play. Whatever it is, I got fucked up. Like after 2, because these are like liters. It's like, oh my god, like this ain't like a pint. Like, I don't know, maybe a pint is different in England, but these things were huge cups. I'm like, holy shit, this is like a 40 ounce, only one cup with a handle.
American drinks are massively watered down compared to European ones. Massively watered down. Yes. And Americans have noticed aren't massive drinkers. We have a very strong, I say strong, it's a really bad actually, drinking culture here. Like, people drink to get pissed, to escapism, really. You guys,
the drinking culture in Europe in general, much more. It's like you guys go hard, but at the same time, on a daily basis, you guys are more subtle. America, we're not subtle. We're just stupid. Like once we start, we just act dumb with it. Like car accidents, fights. Like you put 2 Budweisers on the average American, they're ready to fight for no reason. Like, why are you so angry? Like, we were just having a good time. It's just ridiculous, right? It's absolutely. But like, yeah, drinking culture is like it's acceptable. Like, guys drink wine a lot. What I learned over there though, because like Germany, they have serious drinking and driving laws. Like it's actually more strict than America, but they still drink while dinner. But I didn't know they use water to cut it down.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Okay. I didn't know that. I was like, holy cow.
They've been doing that for a while.
Like,
they have to. German beer is heavy.
So that's the secret. I see what it is. But it's just, I mean, I'll be honest. I'll tell you guys, I miss Europe. I fucking miss it. Me and my wife to this day miss it, man.
Like, I miss America, to be honest.
Like that. Really?
Different strokes. Yeah.
Where did you go to visit America? I know you didn't go to Brooklyn by saying miss America. Because you would have ran right back. You'd be like, you know what? Time to go, guys.
I might have liked it. I visited San Fran. I went to Miami, LA, and then Vegas.
Oh, nice. Vegas, yeah. That's just a party town, though. That's like literally created to party, you know.
Yeah. I've been there a few times.
LA's nice. Like, LA's nice.
Atlanta, I really want to go. Chicago, I really want to go.
Chicago? I don't know, man.
Well, I've heard it's amazing. English people that go there say Chicago's amazing.
I think
the food. The food is really good up there.
Get that deep dish, you know. Just make sure.
Don't
walk down alleys, bro.
Yeah,
New Orleans, that's supposed to be mad as well.
Yeah. New Orleans is a drink a hurricane. Well, if you can remember to drink a hurricane, eat some crawfish. Now you're talking.
Like New Orleans have
for the seafood.
every morning they have like a parade or some shit, some crazy stuff goes down.
Yeah.
So what I learned, you know, you ever heard of Mardi Gras, right? I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah.
It's like this celebration. I didn't realize that place always has a Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
But the actual Mardi Gras is just where all the tourists comes. But that place is a party town all year round. It's insane.
Yeah, they partying 6-7 days.
Year round. All year round. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. It's a pretty all right, cool, man. Can I make a recommendation where I think you would really like? You really need to go to Puerto Rico.
Oh man, I have seen clips of Puerto Rico so bad.
You go there?
If I go there, my woman won't allow me to go because I might.
Yes. The food, the women. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna rip that return ticket.
I might come back with a second wife. You know, I can have 4 wives. So.
Yeah, it's just funny, man. You know, well, it'll be interesting though, just to let you. So there's this fort that's called El Morro, the Moor, right? But in the hallways, you see Arabic writing in the hallways of the Moor because there's a little bit of Arabic culture in our language, believe it or not.
Oh, damn, that's
when
crazy.
We speak, there's some Arabic stuff that is just pretty interesting about the Puerto Rican culture.
That's wicked, bro.
Yeah, no.
I'll get some Arabic inside some women because man,
you know,
I've seen it. I don't know how you handle that.
But we eat pork out there, so you got to be careful with the dishes.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we will eat the shit out of some pork in that place.
Oh yeah. Is that a lot of the diet? That's all pork. That's tricky.
You know, but there's all types of food that is just crazy. You just just make sure you work out in the morning because you will get fat.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey man, your bro is doing very well for himself.
Okay.
Freaking Doc Dark. He works out.
Yeah, he does. He works out a lot. A lot. Our father's genes was gonna catch up to us. Anyway, so let me go through everybody. We already talked to Craig. We got Extreme here. You know.
Yo, what's up?
I like the evolution of the podcast. Everybody, we just all of a sudden decided to turn on our cameras. I did not force this. Extreme had his on and that wasn't even up on the screen. I'm like, Extreme has his camera on? All right, fuck it. Let me move it over so that way people could see because no one could see him. And then all of a sudden Craig's doing it and now I got you. It's just natural evolution. So how you doing, Extreme?
Hey, pretty good, thank you. Good to see you here. Hello, GaaS. Hello, Craig.
Evening or good morning for you.
Just about noon. Just about noon.
It's late. It's late for
Craig's really loud, by the way.
Craig is.
I am loud. Yeah,
I got you. I'll fix you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Portrait on his own.
Yeah, they gave me they gave me beef. Said it was too low in my podcast last week. So
okay, so you decided to overcompensate. There you go.
I'm overcompensating. Yeah.
Yeah, you were at 200 for some reason. Okay, there you go.
200.
Yeah,
All right.
okay, there we go. Boom. All right. So everything good, Extreme?
I think so. So far, so good.
Have you started your content yet? Like Extreme, his channel is going to be about Japanese games that don't include black people.
No, not having black people. Oh my goodness. I'm still doing research on it.
He's gonna blast every game that does not have black people, but for some reason still has white people in it.
Especially when they say have white people in it. Especially, there you go. If you just have Asians, it's fine. That's cool. If you just have whites, I guess we'll talk about that. We'll figure that one out. I think Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of those games.
That's gonna stoke the fires of the woke, anti-woke guys. You're gonna get all of them.
Oh my goodness! Oh Jesus Christ! Have you heard the new word now? Now it's DEI. Now that's the new thing. That's the new way of saying the N word.
Well, that's because that's a term. Yeah. No, so it's on diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's actually an official term in America.
Yeah.
GaaS is like it's the new way. Like America leading away with the bullshit. Like
as always.
See, listen.
We're doing research on it, but don't worry. The idea is still there. We're doing some research.
I'm gonna say this. This is all your fault outside of the world. You say you want America to be less war, less, military. Well, this is what we fucking get. We get DEI. All right? Let us be the country of God. Let us be the country of God's guns and hamburgers. We were fine. Yeah. We were completely fine. God's guns and hamburgers. We were perfectly fine. Funny? But no.
Every week you change that. Except you keep the guns, and you just change the third thing.
Okay.
It's like guns and guns, those are sacred. Last week it was football. This week is hamburgers.
Right. This is hamburgers. Hey, at least
but the guns and the guns they gotta stay.
That will never. I don't know. Like last week was football. I'm surprised you remember. That was pretty impressive.
Hey, listen, man. I'm here to learn. I pay attention.
All right, that's interesting. All right, cool, man. All right, and then we got GaaS. Listen, my friend, how are you doing in this time of struggle? I am here for you, brother. Listen, to let you know.
I don't know if you're referring to Ramadan or you're referring to the state of
Well, you're probably hungry too. You're probably hungry and you're itching to curse everybody out. But God is watching. God is good and He is watching. So you gotta. Hey, I'm letting too. I had to give up meat. This Friday. This Friday is Good Friday. Starting Easter Sunday, when God has risen, so will my meat eating habits. It will rise from the graves as well. Right? So we're both going through it right now, right?
Yeah, but at least your games are still on your platform.
Yeah. So how's everything going? How's all the craziness, with all this? How's everything going with you? The channel,
Yeah. So I launched my channel during Ramadan, which was not ideal. The idea was to diversify the content as well, because I want to do a lot more game streaming and stuff, which is great news, great idea, especially with Microsoft doing. I knew about this for a while, actually. I did say it in December because I'm not just making stuff up. I was hearing it not from Colt and whatnot, from direct source, that this is really widespread. This is why I double down on their lying. So it was like the writing was on the wall for a while, but I was quite astounded by just the levels of deception in Microsoft. So right now for Xbox, I mean, the Xbox community is just deflated and pretending otherwise sometimes. I was saying this on my stream. I was like, I did a poll and I was like, bruh, like, be honest, how deflated is the Xbox community? It's also like a limbo situation right now for Xbox, like the brand. Like we need to understand where the future trajectories of this thing. They're still committed to hardware. What does that look like? They could obviously do timed exclusivity, and then they want to ease in. Satya Nadella doesn't like exclusivity, so this is a question of a matter of time. For me, as someone who has been console warring since I was a kid, from Nintendo and Sega.
We were born in the darkness. That's who we are. Born. Like we they want us to change our stripes. We can't.
We can't, man. Bro, since I was a kid, I had an American neighbor. He had a Nintendo, I had a Sega, and I was going at him. It seems like I seem to have lost every console war because Sega
I was a Sega fan too. That was my console.
Yeah, don't come on PlayStation.
When Sega went away, I'm like, man, I gotta re-strategize because I can't lose again. Like,
I know. And in fact, actually, when PlayStation, I was like, I'm back in PlayStation now. But Xbox with Halo just was too strong for me.
Yeah,
and that was a bit for like PC.
Idea.
Yeah, man. And then there was PC and multiplayer. Multiplayer is that's the thing that really grabbed me away from PlayStation. And PlayStation is now looking to go that way, but it's still limbo with PlayStation as well. Both companies and both platforms are doing things I think their fan base ultimately will not necessarily agree with. I think people are hoping that PlayStation recognized that its big staple first-party games are important and single-player games are important, but they're definitely veering towards GaaS because that's what's more sustainable as well. So the identity of what PlayStation fans associate with PlayStation, that's being diluted. With Xbox kind of ducking away from direct competition, I think that's not great. Not just from a banter perspective, because I really love the console war and just talking shit. I love the console war. But the excitement in the field has gone down. It's the back and forth isn't as satisfying. It
doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel
the same. And it's like platform wars. Like okay,
brand wars. Like General MLD. Shout out to him. He's still fighting a good fight. I'm like, bro. Like, listen.
I'm trying. But
he's
really
trying.
There's a bit of schizophrenia. It's like I have to call Xbox out because it's so stupid. But then I'm like, I need to give up PlayStation as well. But it's just, and I was on BG show on Sunday, and I was just like, it's not as fun as it used to be. Like, both companies need to just I want a tit for tat, and the thing is, the industry has moved to such a position where only behemoths can really make a stand here or be entrants into the space. New entrants, very, very, very unlikely. Even Amazon or Google, we saw what they did, but what's going to happen in the competition space? And Asa and I disagree. Asa thinks there'll still be competition on a game basis, on a platform basis. So. And I don't know. I'm not saying there won't be, but I just feel like it's a bit of a limbo situation. It might change. We're very fickle. Xbox is still committed to hardware. I'm not confident in Xbox's vision or what they say. And PlayStation at the same time, I don't want them to be lackadaisical because I think we all know that when PlayStation relaxes, that's when they start to take the mick a little bit. But their stakes are high as well. PlayStation is not stupid. Sony's not stupid. They recognize that Microsoft invested heavily now in gaming in other ways could be detrimental. So they don't want to let the Trojan horse in. It's a weird state of affairs. It's a bit limbo. But at the same time, saying that, I'm loving the games right now, man, actually. It's really good games. Like Dragon's Dogma took me by surprise. So I'm finally getting to play Cyberpunk after the update. That's amazing. I'm playing Sekiro finally and playing Halo Infinite. I'm juggling too many games. So it's there's
a lot. Just content-wise, across the board, outside of brand, there is a lot of games to play. If you ignore the brand behind it and just focus on playing the games, there is a lot of stuff. I'm overwhelmed as well. I'm like, holy shit. And then I'm trying to finish up my degree. I'm like, holy cow. This is getting ridiculous.
Good luck.
So I got 2 more classes, and I'm done.
What's your degree in?
The information technology management.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice.
So we'll see how that works. Yeah, and then 2 years away from retiring from the military. So this is the next 2 years is turbulent right now. So everything's coming fast. But we're gonna talk more on Xbox. But I want to talk to the judge. What's going on, my brother?
Yo, what's going on?
And he got his camera on. Listen, this is all voluntary. Everybody just decided to let there be light. See what I'm saying? So what's going on, my brother? Good to put a face to the name.
Yes, thank you so much. I figured, man, I had to get on because I haven't been on for a really long time. Like Craig, I got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive an hour away for work. So that's why, you guys haven't been seeing me that much. But I've been trying to follow. But after 9:30, I'm dead. After turning 40, man, I don't got the energy no more. So, I want to hear all the shit talking definitely from M. It's nice to put a face to everybody. We already knew what you look like, P-Rock. So that they ain't about nothing.
I'm the only friend in these YouTube streets. I'm everybody's only friend, right? I'm the only one you call on. Listen, everybody. When negotiations on the table's over, come find me. I got you. But I'm glad you're here, man. Everything's good. Family's good.
Yeah. Everybody's cool, man. You know what? I've been playing. What's the name? Helldivers too.
Helldivers. Oh,
for some time.
That's fun.
That game.
Yeah.
That game was fun. Yeah. That game was fun, but I need more friends to play with because I swear,
we're all playing single player games, bro. Like,
yeah, no, I play Helldivers. Me and J Dub played it Saturday. Yeah. So just real quick, you send somebody a message and they just jump right on and start playing. And so it's pretty cool.
No, I got people pushing me off the cliff to get eaten by the damn by the bugs. I got somebody blowing up. I'm not too sure if it's like a bomb that didn't go off, but I had the bright idea of shooting the bomb that didn't go off, and I thought that if I backed away from it, that I wouldn't get caught by the explosion. Little did I know that it was a nuclear bomb. So it didn't matter how much. It didn't matter how much I backed away. It was just total mayhem. But no, that's between that game. That game is probably one of the most fun games I played in a long time.
Yeah, me too.
And I bought Final Fantasy VII Rebirth about a month ago, but I have yet to play it. I just didn't have any time to play it yet.
Yeah, it's no time. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on.
I got Final Fantasy Rebirth, but I purposely didn't start playing it because I knew Square Enix was going to. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna stop buying Square Enix games day one because this is the third time they do this. They release a game, then like a month or 2 months later, they release a patch that improves the performance of visuals, and they've been doing this all the goddamn time, and I'm getting just sick of it. Like it just gets annoying. Like it just gets annoying that you're playing a game and then you beat it, and then Square Enix goes, "Oh, we made the game better," and I'm like, I already beat the fucking game, and now you're telling me that it's better. Like it's almost getting punished for buying the game day one, and at least with them. So I'm getting kind of sick of these companies releasing games when they're really not. At least like if you know you can improve the game a month later, then delay the shit for a month. Like it's like this is ridiculous. It's just getting annoying. Like seeing some of these things in gaming, bro. But hey, I'm glad you're around, man. Thank you for showing up, everybody. So let's go back to admitting Xbox is dog shit. Now I'm just playing, right? So no, but GaaS,
you're on the right track.
Yeah, so GaaS kicked off, a lot of good points about this stuff, right? I want to ask GaaS a specific question because I asked so far any Xbox guy that I've been on a podcast and talking to, because this is amazing. So many of your community members, content creators, let's go back a year from now. I mean, a year ago. Around this time, we were talking about the ABK, the CMA, and then everything was leading up to the big FTC trial. And then everybody's Lulu Chang's best friend. Everybody loved Lulu Chang. Everybody wants to get invited to her wedding and all that shit, right? She's out there. Florian Mueller, whatever his name is, out there. All the community's talking about it, and everybody's making content, Xbox podcasts, Twitter Spaces, about what this ABK deal would mean. And everybody, whether you're a pony or an Xbox fanboy or an actual fan, majority realize this big moves is going to spell some level of exclusives, big games day one, and ABK is going to propel Xbox. Obviously, Call of Duty was out of the question, right? Because that was the 10-year deal. But any new titles, new games, this was going to help. ABK and Bethesda will be part of the equation to add more games to bolster the Xbox ecosystem. And people were making podcasts about it, talking about it. Now that we remember a lot of us was doing that, who knew that while we were having these discussions, Rare was in the back by themselves, locked in a secret dungeon, actually making a PlayStation game? Because when you think about Sea of Thieves releasing in April, they had to at least need a year to port this game. It's not going to be like a 2-month port. So you can arguably deduce that Rare was working on this game April of 2023, March of 2023. Around this time, they already started making the port. So while everybody was looking at the future of Xbox with exclusives and how ABK, and they let us, Microsoft literally let us have these conversations, and they said shit. Like, how do you feel, guys? You were like literally around this time, you had this expectation of Xbox and using ABK and Bethesda to push the brand, and Microsoft was literally like, yeah, we're already making games for PlayStation, dog. And they said nothing. They let everyone just have these conversations, make the content, hold the line. There was never a line to hold, ever. It never existed. That's what's crazy. There was no line. It never existed.
While King was holding the line, Microsoft was folding it in the background. It's quite funny.
So how do you, from your perspective, how do you, I don't want to make you seem like you're in your fields, but how do you feel as a content creator? Everybody's doing this stuff, and this whole time Microsoft is like, I don't think he knows. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, everybody has all this expectation, and it never was going to happen. Like, the decision was already done even before the ink dry, even before the FTC trial started. It was already done. Like, this is insanity.
The funny thing is, if in retrospect, if you watch the, the Phil Spencer apology tour where Kind of Funny Games, anywhere he's admitting that we lost the console war, he was alluding to this because he would known back then that this is what because he's getting pressure from Satya Nadella.
Good point. Like he was saying, we got to do these different.
He's planting the seeds there.
Yeah, so not that you're going to do different. Technically, they already decided to do things different. Good point. It's just, the hindsight is in
2021. Yeah, it started in 2021.
Because think about the rhetoric.
I forgot about that.
Because he was saying, look, we've already lost the console war. We lost it. To you to say that, we assumed that he was just having a bad week because ABK just merged it.
I thought he was just stressed out. I thought it was just, not this shit again. But
that's why we always say on our podcast, and we always get beef from saying that Phil Spencer has a silver tongue, and his silver tongue was working overtime there. And in retrospect, when you look at that, he kind of tries to prepare, like you plant the seeds there to try and make sure his words kind of age that well, but they don't. And he's like right today we saw the statement that he, in his Polygon interview, talking about the language that he uses is vastly different to what he uses in the Xbox podcasts, which I said straight away, this is bollocks. This is bullshit. Take it into account, and I mixed the clips with what he said when the Bethesda deal came about. It's obviously a fluid situation because when they were saying this is about Game Pass, where Game Pass exists, so after that, 2022 happens, and 2022 is a horrendous year. Game Pass numbers stall, and they're not doing what they need to. Satya Nadella takes a massive hit on his bonus, so now you've got executive pressure right from the top, from the top.
Like the biggest man, like the main dude. Like it hurt his pockets. Microsoft,
absolutely, and this guy comes onto the FTC in the hearings, and then he says to the FTC that he doesn't even care for exclusives. Normally, people always chalk that up to just executive talk, trying to pass the deal through. But with Satya Nadella, there was definitely we could tell, like, this is the same guy that asked Phil Spencer whether you even need to be in the console space. So whilst Phil Spencer saved Xbox, and Xbox may not even be here for him, this is the necessary evil. But today's interview was just quite. After today's Polygon interview, I think almost in unison, Xbox fans are saying, "Shut the fuck up, Phil." Like I was there with the Xbox podcast, and I got it in the neck, but. Now everyone is saying it because no one has confidence in the words that he's saying. So yeah, what does it feel like an Xbox fan? I still think ABK is a good thing that happened, because imagine if ABK didn't happen, right? Microsoft are not committed to this deal. The hardware sales tank. Xbox could be waving the white flag much more definitively if ABK hasn't been gone through. Xbox has now forced Microsoft to take this seriously. Its third biggest revenue generator. Like, this is something they cannot ignore. But the problem is now Xbox's identity, the brand, gets diluted as the Borg Microsoft assimilates and swallows it whole. So what Microsoft's idea of gaming is going to be vastly different to what core gamers are. How they balance that, I don't know.
Exactly.
And it's going to be an uphill task for them. So it's going to be very hard because between me, like, just to not say too much, but I've heard Phil Spencer say to some people, look, Twitter noise and the forum noise, our metrics and data show that this is really irrelevant. The data points show everything. And today he talks about Gen Z. The Gen Z don't care about it. There's an element of that. But what are you going to do? Because you don't market your console. The brand evangelists are moving away in droves. So I'm really hoping to witness this mass exodus and beef. It's not the end of Xbox in the gaming space. They'll definitely committed. They have to succeed in the first place. But the way diehards like me and you, like in terms of the adversarial point of it, it's gone. Like, and unless they do a U-turn, I don't believe the four games, or this is all nonsense. So it's weird. The whole industry is shifting though, so I can't even say with certainty what PlayStation's going to do.
But when
I
people,
really can't.
So let me ask you this point: whole industry, right? Because when I keep hearing that term, whole industry shifting, I'm like, majority industry is already third party. So when people say whole industry, we're only talking about 3 people: Nintendo, Sony, Xbox. There's no one else. Everyone else is already a third party provider, and they already naturally are putting their games everywhere. That's just natural. So when people say whole industry, it's not the whole industry. We're really only talking about 3 platform providers.
Well,
Nintendo already drew the line in the sand. Like, no, we believe in exclusives. Hell, if you even try to make an emulator, we're going after you. So that group already they drew their line in the sand, saying, this is how we roll business. This is what we do. And they have not budgeted. These guys don't even talk about subscription services. Nintendo draws a hard line in the sand on what they want to do. And so far it's been successful. It is what it is for them. So really, the whole industry is really PlayStation. Let's just all be honest.
And you've got,
because EA is already a third-party provider. Ubi's like, who else other than PlayStation? It's literally PlayStation is the whole industry.
In terms of platform holders, there's not going to be any new entrant. It's always going to be, look, in this Nintendo's always in its own lane. That we let that Nintendo do what the hell Nintendo does. In terms of like the primary people delivering next gen or current gen games, like at the apex of what we want, is PC, it's PlayStation, it's Xbox, and PlayStation has also, like, as their margins get thinner, as Hiroki Totoki talks about, wherever computing exists, I'm not saying Xbox, but wherever computing exists, this is a clear declaration that they need to branch out along with their GaaS pivot. So, and this is not the fanboy in me saying it. I'm being very honest when I say, like, PlayStation as a business and Sony, because this, as well as Sony's hardware is selling, they have some pretty big challenges, whether or not their business model, if this stuff on cloud, if this stuff on mobile, and this stuff, the changing landscape and the new Gen Z takes form, how is PlayStation going to be positioned to weather the storm of those changes? I'm not saying they will be, they're not able to do it. I understand. I have faith in PlayStation maintaining that because they have this insular console model, but that's diluting, and it has to. There's some existential problems, like they generally, like we have to reconcile where the industry is heading, and I can't profess to know the answers because I'm not an oracle, but PlayStation, they say it wherever the computing exists, they focus on GaaS. What's the future of GaaS? And then everything is muddied with this whole AAA space correction, mass layoffs, industries just shifting. And I think it's healthy. I'm finally getting to see the AA. Unreal Engine is going to be a force. Everyone thinks it's just an engine, but Unreal Engine is going to be, I think, like the adoption of this is insane. The mass adoption of this is insane. It's empowering AA's. It's empowering indies.
You bore me. Oh my god, this is boring.
Why?
Everything you're saying is everything that's what you've been true. Like, I'm sorry, it's just like you keep talking about things that they've been true forever. The whole we're gonna put games.
Do you want me to talk about false things? What do you want?
We're gonna put things on PC. We're gonna put things on mobile. We're gonna put things on cloud. They said that in 2013. So it's like that's been true. The whole Unreal Engine isn't new. The whole AA
I'm not
games,
saying it
AAA
is.
games, that's not new. The whole industry is shifting. The industry isn't shifting. Only Microsoft is. That's it. That's
So
it. The whole
Hiroki
GaaS
is
game.
lying.
PlayStation has been having GaaS games forever. Gran Turismo, that's a GaaS game. They created Gran Turismo Sport. That was pretty much entirely
I'm
multiplayer.
sorry. What was it before that? Last gen? Name the GaaS games. Last gen.
Gran Turismo Sport, I just listed one.
That's one gone.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Just
That's
one.
all they
You can name
needed to
one
have.
game. They've been doing GaaS games.
Yeah,
You can name one
exactly.
game.
Because
That's
they've
your argument.
started
That's
and
your
now they're
argument. One game.
accumulating. Yes, exactly. One game. That one
What a
game.
brilliant argument.
No. Like, if you want to go, exactly.
MLB the show.
You want to
They've
go
always
all
had
the way
two or
back.
three.
You can go back to EverQuest with Sony and online entertainment. But the point is, nothing has shifted
That's
except for
okay.
Microsoft. Do you
GaaS games
understand?
didn't exist. Okay.
No, 10 GaaS games didn't exist because they started the strategy and now they're accelerating along that same axis. So you're
that's
saying
not
that
the-
they are
it's not the
somehow
status quo,
shifting.
is it? So you
What
killed
is
your
it?
own
But we're not
argument.
talking about the status quo. You're not
You
saying
named
that
two
things are.
games, and then you're saying status quo. You're boring me. I don't
No,
think you
you're
have an
boring
appetite
me.
for
No, you are
meaningful discussion.
absolutely like dreadfully
Well,
boring because you're not saying
I don't
anything that
care
is
about
actually
your
of any
excitement
substance.
levels. We're
Neither
having
do
a
I. But the
conversation.
point is,
Your
the point is
substance
this.
relied on two
The
games.
point is this. The point is
Well
this.
done. Well
They
done.
started with 2 games here that have been long major staples of their household, and now they are getting more. Now you're seeing how diverse. But the thing is, it would be one thing if you say, okay, they are not releasing single player games anymore. Then it's like, okay, that's a shift. But for them to say, okay, we're going to release single player games, which they said, since you love Hiroki Totoki so much, I'm sure you must love Herman House. That came multiple times. They said, single player is the core of our gaming. We are never going to step away from a single player games. Okay, cool. So he said that. Since you love words so much, right? And then they say to you, they're going to introduce live service games on top. And so far, what have they done? Exactly that. So you just say, oh my God, they didn't used to have 10
What have they
before.
done?
Well, when were they supposed to get 10? They were always going to start at 0 and they were always going to move towards 10. So now that they've started at 0 and they're moving towards 10, there's a lot of verbal diarrhea. What, did you hear your own words?
I don't think you have the capacity to engage in this conversation properly.
I don't think you have the capacity to respond in a conversation where you are challenged because you're not saying anything new. You are basically just trying to disguise what Xbox is doing.
2 games is what you named.
Yes, I named 2 games. Yes.
When I say the 10 games,
how many did you want? How many did you want?
A lot more
How
than
many
2
would
when
have
you're
been
saying the
enough?
status quo. You
So
can
if I
see
come
that
up
there
with
are
a
10
third,
games,
that's it.
and then you're saying, oh, well,
If
the
I
10
come up
games
with
have
a
to
third
start from
game,
somewhere.
we can
Is
move
the 10
on.
GaaS games a shift or yes or no?
It's
Are the 10
not a
GaaS games
shift. That's what
Well,
that's
there
my
you go.
entire
Well,
point.
there you go.
It's not a
There you go.
shift.
That goes
It
to
is
show how
literally just
disingenuous you
doing
are.
more of it. How is it disingenuous
just
when I'm telling you they are
more of it.
doing more of the same strategy that they
They
already
increased
told you
the
they were going
strategy
to do?
tenfold, but it's just the same.
It's not
Okay,
tenfold,
well,
is it? Because if I name 2, it's fivefold, like basic math.
Now you're very boring. Now you're boring me.
no, I'm boring you.
This
Okay,
is the,
you know what? Let's continue the conversation. Keep regurgitating your nonsense points.
Well, I'll say this. They've got they were having the issues with Bungie, but Destiny's is a GaaS game. But yeah, I understand what both you all are saying. Look, they said they were going to do M's right. They did say they were going to be doing this back. I remember that Sony had games on their Sony TVs, and they got rid of them. Or they got rid of that app. It wasn't a very popular app. So I do understand that. I think it's not a shift as much as they're just doing more of the same. And again, they said they were going to do it. I do see, this is just what I've seen, is that there's a lot of people, there's just a lot of people within the Xbox community that are saying, well, the whole industry is shifting. To me, that sounds like a coping mechanism. I'm in the medical field. It sounds like, well, we're doing it because this is the way the industry is going. No, Phil Spencer has come out and said they're getting throttled. We've seen the numbers in Europe. They're getting beat here in the United States. They're going third party, which I don't have an issue with. It's just going to, like you said, it's the whole back and forth thing within the margins. That's over with. Those guys are going to have to, and gals are going to have to do something different. And that's what I'm seeing is people move off the quote consoles and move into brands and publishing and stuff like that. And I mean, Porter Rock's right. Sea of Thieves was being ported the whole time all this ABK stuff was going on. So was all these other games that are coming. They're in a pipeline now, apparently. This includes Helldivers, Microsoft Flight Sim. That's all coming. So, and I was told that today by somebody I really trust. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly where the boat lands. Well, it's a bad term. What's happening where the plane lands with all of this. But to me, it does sound like the industry is, and I've heard different people say, Gen Z spends money differently than millennials and differently than Gen X, right? So we'll have to kind of see. And Phil Spencer saying, well, Gen Z isn't spending money, which is right. I mean, I think even Alana Pierce, shout out to her, was talking about Gen Z, and they spend money differently. So if they forecast that they're not going to sell a whole lot, and Phil Spencer, when he did that show, and they were, with the 4 games or whatever, they're doing 4 or 5 games coming out, he isn't the boss. And he's reporting to Satya Nadella. Satya wants these games, like you were just saying. He testified in open court, I don't like exclusives. He, as a CFO, do a market-based study and say, here's all the money that we're possibly leaving off the table. This company is worth $1 trillion because we like money. Then what they're doing should not surprise people. It doesn't surprise me. I know myself, King Thrash, we told everybody this was going to happen. And we said this not yesterday, not a month ago, over 2 years ago. So it's, so I feel bad for the fanboys because now they're going to have to do something different. But, landing the plane here, I think you both are making legitimate points. Em's point is right about Sony's just doing what they said they were going to do. And yeah, if you want to call it a pivot, I understand that. I'm just kind of like, all right, that's kind of, to me, weak sauce. But what if it was 12 games or 14 games? And that's a major pivot. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, is it? Well, there's 6, right? I mean, when you include Gran Turismo, Destiny, MLB The Show, then you have now Helldivers, you have the Concord coming. That we're already at 5. So by the end of
Marathon, Ben's
Marathon's next year, right? Yeah, I'm just talking about this year.
So I'm gonna say this.
We're going to have 5 this year.
Yeah, when Sony mentioned 10, is it 10 additional or already including? We don't know. That's where I like to think it's 10 additional, because if you're trying to plan something for the future to add, you're not going to include what you already been doing. So you would include MLB The Show, Gran Turismo, because that was already part of your strategy. That's why I said, anyway. But let me get the judge. Let me get your point. Let me do this super chat. We got Nave, and he says, nah, PlayStation pulling a Kendrick right now. PlayStation saying, motherfucker, the big 3, it's big me. All right. Hey, Judge, give me your overall view pretty much on the comments across the board. What GaaS has said, what Extreme said, what Craig said, whether holistically industry changing. Do you see this as an interesting change? Do you see Sony what they did was a pivot or just a aggressive move on what they started? What's your perception of PlayStation and Xbox and this whole, you could just say, the new normal, or what will eventually be the new normal for us?
You know what? Honestly, I'm not too sure. The reason why I'm not too sure is because of, unfortunately for me, and not to change the subject, anytime I listen to game news, only thing I've been hearing about is PS5 Pro, and I'm tired of hearing about it.
60 CUs.
Digital Foundry has really been milking the shit out of that. So that's all the game news that I've been hearing. Now, as far as regarding the pivot or the unpivot, the only thing I can say, the only thing I can say to this is with Microsoft, and the common theme that I can say is that when I hear a lot of the changes in the plans or a lot of complaints, it's really coming from the Microsoft fans from their point of view. Whereas and I think and I want to say GaaS is correct on this. Whereas it's like, well, it's not. We can't say it's the whole entire industry because of as of right now, the only company that is having an adverse effect is Microsoft. So don't say because of Microsoft is doing ABC that Sony is also doing the same thing as well. It's like, well, no, Sony regardless of what Hiroki-san said, a couple back in December or back in January, that doesn't really have anything to do with what what Microsoft is currently going through, and as far as the plans that they had already had in place before this whole ABK deal went into it, or ever even went into an effect in the first place. To me, I don't know, because we've been saying for a long time, and Craig said it as well. Like, as far as Microsoft, maybe to me it's just like, hey, like how long can the company continue to lose money on a division and not go belly up? And as I said before, the only thing with that to me, in my opinion, that kept Microsoft afloat, minus the 360 era.
You mean Xbox?
Was during Xbox. Excuse me.
Microsoft.
The only,
Microsoft. They're beyond the Titanic. That place is not sinking. They're way too big.
Right. The only thing that kept Xbox afloat, minus the 360 era, is the fact that Microsoft always subsidized the company. I mean, even going back to 2001, 2002. I mean, I remember reading Xbox magazine, June 2002 issue, whereas it was saying why the original Xbox was such a great machine. And one of the reasons it says that, well, at the time it had $2 billion backing from Microsoft. And, and here we are 22 years later, and it's still the same thing. It's just that, hey, I guess, after, CEO, any of the executive officers, they're not making the amount of money that they need to make, or they taking the hits because they're not getting their bonuses because they're not making the money that they need to make, then certain change was to be made. But as far as that is about as far as I can go. I mean, I'm not too surprised about anything that's going on that Microsoft is doing, and neither am I surprised, with some of the fanboys when I hear some. I'm gonna say fanboys when I hear them talk. It's like, hey, that's on you guys' side. That has nothing to do with Sony. Whatever Sony does and its successes and its F-ups is Sony. Everything that's happening with Microsoft right now, that's because of, unfortunately, I keep saying Microsoft. That's everything that's going on with Xbox is unfortunately because of Xbox, and I try to leave it at that.
All right.
Yeah, and I'll just simply add to that it's Satya Nadella is the boss of bosses. If you want to look like a mob, he's the Don. He's got his money man, that's the CFO, and he has all his little underbosses, which that's what Phil Spencer is. He's an underboss, and he reports to him. If Satya wants those games everywhere else, that's going to be it. Now, I agree with GaaS that this is a kind of a shock to the system for the Xbox community. However, the writing has been on the wall for years. If you're not selling enough, how are you going to keep your ecosystem going? You have to expand your ecosystem. Okay, Gen Z is not buying our shit, so we have to go elsewhere with what we have. So to me, it makes sense what Microsoft is doing. I would do the same thing. If I got an ice cream truck and I go to one neighborhood and don't sell no ice cream, I got to go somewhere else, so, and for whatever reason, which we'll never know, is the Xbox community decided we're not going to buy games because companies are greedy, and the company should just give us shit for free, which is what I'm hearing on a lot of their podcasts. It's like, if you're broke, you're broke. Just say you're broke, and you want to. And so this whole entitlement thing is part of the problem that Xbox does have.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. To be fair, and not to throw shots or whatever, but when the company themselves, like if I have a restaurant, right, and I'm selling food, but I offer you a buffet where you can eat the same food, but you can have the whole menu for $10 a month, you're not gonna come to my restaurant and buy a la carte.
It's like the movie houses when they went to those movie things.
You're gonna choose the cheaper option, because why would you purposely pay more for the same thing? That doesn't.
And with
really
the cheaper
make sense.
option with Microsoft, whether they unwillingly did this or not, the people, because they were paying a cheaper option, were getting less quality, but they didn't care because it was cheaper. But everybody else is like,
to be honest, the quality wasn't there before Game Pass.
Remember, they've had quality IPs.
Game Pass came out in 2017. We were already saying what the hell happened to Xbox in 2015.
Yeah, but they had quality IP with Gears and stuff like that, and they were making Flight Sim for the PC. I know it wasn't on the console.
Even with the quality
But-
IPs, they were the diminishing. And
They
what
were
I mean by
diminishing. Yeah, oh, no, you were
what
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
trend of those games was already trending down. Halo was
No,
a 90
you're not
plus,
wrong about that.
Halo was a 90 plus Metacritic type game, and then it went down to the 80s. Gears was a 90 plus Metacritic franchise. Started sinking into the 80s. So everything was just already trending down bit by bit, right?
No, but
so
the sales of the console
yeah.
weren't. At least
Yeah,
with the
sales-
360.
you know.
but
the main thing is what happened after the 360.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah.
Xbox One kicked off a bad gen, and it was like, holy shit. It seems like, Microsoft, from the moment the console generation started, they were trying to tread water with a brick in one hand and a baby in the other. And they're just
Well, it was
to
a
keep their
double
noses up
skew.
the whole time.
Shout out to the late great Optimus Cole, who said this double skew thing was not going to work. And
No. That Xbox Series, we're talking about Xbox One, right?
oh, Xbox One, that was bad.
Xbox
yeah,
One,
that was
right?
bad. No, you're right.
Yeah, Xbox-
I mean, they had games at the beginning of that. It just
They
had Titanfall, they had Forza,
well, they still have
Metal
Forza.
Gear.
They still have.
Well,
they
no,
still have Gears
man,
or Halo, right?
when they did their show, if you go back, they showed Metal Gear, they showed the Forza game, they showed Titanfall, I think. So they show games. It was just overall Sony undercut them by $100, and that was it. Ever since that happened, you're right. It's been diminishing returns. Like I said, I feel bad that people just can't accept what they're doing, because to me it makes perfect business sense. We have to expand our brand. The best way to do that is, if you can't get Muhammad to the mountain, you got to bring the mountain to him, and that's what they're doing. That's all they're doing, and people got to get over it. People got to get over it, because this is happening. This is now happening. It's in motion. So
I mean, yeah, but I think we can look back. I always said this. After the 360 generation, when Don Matrick took over, and for whatever reason, he wanted to double down on Kinect and this new vision for Xbox, and I'm thinking, why the fuck did he pivot? They literally had the perfect blueprint of what makes a console successful. They had the killer first-party IPs. They knew what third parties to go after. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, 360, they went after BioShock. You know what I'm saying? They went after Elder Scrolls, right? They got Mass Effect, right?
Yeah.
So these aren't new concepts. You go after the big games, right? Because, like I said, like when we were talking in the beginning, Craig, right? A publisher, right, from a holistic perspective, has to strategize, how can I make this console appealing to the audience? And it's not just simply your first party, because you'll unless you plan to get 1,000 developers, you will never have enough first party developers to satisfy the consumers. So you got to strategize. All right, this is what my own native first party developer is going to do. Now I have some more IPs, but all my first party developers are working on games. So let me do some second party relationships. Have them guys make games. And then I'm going to look out into the industry, talk to third party and be like, you know what? I want that game exclusive. Oh, you don't want to make it exclusive? Can I make it timed exclusive? Oh, you don't want that either. Can I add additional content that is specific to my platform?
Yeah.
And you make those moves.
Microsoft did that.
Yeah, and they did that with the 360. Then
they were famous for that, yeah.
And then they kind of slowed it down. Well, Don Matrick decided to slow that down, right? That's when the beginning of Halo, Gears, and Forza started turning up. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, all we're getting is this. Whereas, like, the new exclusives,
the industry shifted as a result of that 360 gen, where because of Microsoft's competition in the space, and you had Sean Layden say the exact same thing, actually acknowledge the fact that it was Microsoft and the competition in the 360 space that birthed this idea of PlayStation investing in this first party. First party and PlayStation is a relatively new phenomenon. It was birthed during the 360 gen out of necessity. Microsoft's competition gave this idea of first party, and tail end of that generation, the conversation starts switching into what is your first party doing, where Sony led strongly with The Last of Us, with Naughty Dog, and then they really carry that strongly with in the PS4 gen. So Microsoft, the narrative was, what are you doing? Like, we're your studios, we're your first parties. We bemoaned them when they did Titanfall. We bemoaned them when they did Tomb Raider. And then Phil Spencer comes out and it imports this kind of schizophrenia into this business where he says, I don't like this third party. I don't like third party thing as well. But then the pressures are, all right, what is your first party doing? Because you have nothing other than studios to produce Gears, Halo, and Forza. And then 2018 happens and they announce this big suite of like studio acquisitions. Great news, including the Initiative. And that's 2018 and we're in 2024. And you haven't really seen the benefit of the Initiative, this quadruple A studio, which I've been vocal about. What are they doing? Still don't know.
Good point.
Say Undead Lab. Still don't know. What's going on with
Hellblade was announced in 2019. We're finally getting that. 2019.
It was revealed with the console, man, and it's still and it's like okay, fine, it's good that it doesn't have to be any particular budget. It's a AA plus game, but now you're seeing it. So Microsoft's but Microsoft had tried all these things, but the execution was disgusting. From the start of this generation, they launched their console with no exclusives, and that's ridiculous. Their prime title, Halo, it gets delayed. Massive mismanagement. Entire leadership is cold, and mass exodus from them. Very similar to what's Bungie's happening with Bungie now. And you're still looking to see the fruits of their labor. So when Microsoft did ZeniMax, that to this day seems like the best acquisition minus, but then you get Redfall, and then you're like, oh, okay. Well, what's happening here? You get Starfield. Starfield didn't do but it was a success for them. Solid game, but not a game changer. You've got Doom on the horizon, but what's going to happen? What's going to happen with these studios? And then ABK happens, and then they open wide the strategy. So it's a case of Xbox failed to do and Phil Spencer needs to be accountable for that. If Phil Spencer's not accountable, then who is? Because he failed on the power narrative of the Xbox. If you saw the FTC discourse when they announced the PlayStation 5 specs, the internal email went through saying, yes, we're in a good position. Our console's much stronger. And then day one, what happens? They're scratching their heads. Digital Foundry scratching their heads. They failed in that front.
That was hilarious. I gotta admit, that was for Console War. Yeah. That was a hilarious week because everybody was like, "Wait, what the fuck is happening?" Like,
even
Digital Foundry said it was a bug.
I'm like, wait a minute, like what the fuck?
The faces of John Linehan and the other guy, and they're just like, "What's happening?" And then it never panned out. No. And so you're dealing with Microsoft as a company that has with their bankroll, this terrible propensity to shoot themselves in the foot and not really execute their plan. So the confidence wanes, and then in 2022, for me, it was just like, right, what are you doing? And then a Redfall happens, and now it's this case of you're relying on these studios to do that stuff. But is that an Xbox identity? It's going away. So it's weird. I'm not saying that these independent studios cannot produce stuff. But like with ABK, like a lot of people came at me for saying that I was very vocal about what's his name, the game from Blizzard being cancelled, the live service, the not live service game, the survival game.
Oh, the survival game that Odyssey. Blizzard was going to make.
Odyssey, yeah. And I wanted to see that. And during ABK, I said I will be relentless in asking from this ABK acquisition something fresh. From their new IP, I have to be on their tails. At least revisit the old IPs. But we haven't heard anything from ABK at all. Even COD, we've just heard we will still put them on Game Pass, which is a big answer, I guess. But we wanted more, and there are massive question marks around that. So it's a weird one. It's a limbo situation. Gamers are very fickle, so if they showcase event that's happening in summer, that's very strong. There's pressure on Xbox to deliver. There's definitely pressure on PlayStation as well, with their state of play having failed to do what they needed to for the big one. Because come on, you want to see that roadmap. Like, no matter how good you think this third-party strategy is, surely you want to see that, because you were not. I know you were. M was happy with Foam Stars, but you weren't. So because you have some standards. So hopefully you'll see.
What the fuck do you think I was happy with Foam Stars?
He doesn't like multiplayer games.
But people like Splatoon. I remember that voice clip. People like Splatoon.
I don't like
And then
Splatoon Wars.
Forok
Like
was
Skeet
calling you
Wars.
We Bleed Blue podcast.
Oh yeah, Skeet Wars. Everybody out here
Yeah.
playing Skeet
But people
Wars.
like
I'm like, I'm not
Splatoon.
skeeting on no other man. Like, I'm sorry, that's not for me. Like like, leave me out of that nonsense, right? But you know, so here's the thing, man. I just lost. Dang, the Skeet War thing. You just threw me off, GaaS. Like, you just made me lose my. So all right. What the fuck was I thinking? I just completely lost track of what I had. This perfect question, and GaaS just fucked it up with this
Sorry,
porn
man.
bullshit. God, fucking people from England are so horny, bro. Unbelievable.
You
No.
made the skeet thing. I've never heard that before.
But here's the thing. I'll go back. Let me go back to the PlayStation thing, because you and Extreme had a good conversation, right? About
Debatable,
now. I
but
think
yeah.
debate, right? But I think
No.
regardless, maybe it's the term pivot versus an appropriate term. But I will say this: maybe an abrupt change, or when Sony announced 10 live service game, and this was like around 2021, right? And it was all going to be released by 2026. I'm like, wait a minute. Over the next 5 years, you're going to have 10 live service games? And it's like the middle 2021. So even that year technically doesn't count. So you're talking at the earliest 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So over the 5 year period, 2 games, I said something's going to go wrong. Because to me,
Yeah,
regardless of
I
what
remember
the
I put that clip
appropriate
in there.
term, regardless of what the appropriate term to use, that is too much too fast. I could maybe understand 4 over the next by 2026. You start off slow, get some investments, build it up, see how it goes, and keep building over time, right? But to say 10, that's like somebody made the decision, we're going to go hard, we're going to go fast, we're getting these titles out there, here's a blank check, do it. And I'm thinking, all right, and at this time I'm thinking, how many studios does Sony have right now to do that? I'm like, they're going to cut into first party studios who put Sony, and here's the thing what I try to tell PlayStation. PS3 had to inch out and survive that generation. That's what they did. Because they started out bad. For those people who don't know, they never made any profit that whole entire gen. They completely lost everything that they made for the PlayStation brand. It was in the red until the last day of PlayStation 3's life cycle. It wasn't until for PlayStation 4 where they started getting things back. So when you think about it, PlayStation 4 was like the Phoenix. It was the resurrection of PlayStation. And just like guys alluded to, the first party image was a huge part of that strategy. Sure, Sony still did the third party thing, right? They still went after third party exclusives, you know, map packs and marketing deals and all this stuff. But a lot of people was really talking about the PlayStation first party exclusives. Like PlayStation 4 was a completely different generation compared to previous ones, because for the first time now you're seeing multiple first party selling 15 plus million. Usually it was only Gran Turismo. That was like the 15 plus million seller. The original God of War at max was 5 million, right? Uncharted, even during the PS3 era, was hitting like the 9-10 million. Now all of a sudden, Uncharted is selling 18 million. God of War selling 18 million. Guerrilla on their first banger sold 20 million, which pretty much was the entire Killzone franchise sales. So you got these first parties doing numbers they never did before, right? And I'm thinking, okay, Sony's really bolstering up their first party. This is what's getting the brand name going. I honestly thought with the PS5, they would try to find a way to bolster the very thing that got them to their position. So that way, the first party had the ability to create more games. But instead, they said, we're going to go on this live service pitch. And I will say they did plan out the launch of the PS5. I don't care. Objectively, the PS5 launch was better than any PlayStation console before it in terms of first party. They did a phenomenal job from a first party perspective launching the console compared to their previous consoles. PS4, remember, the big thing for the first 2 years was sparse. And Sony said those words. It wasn't a fanboy term. Sony said their own first party looked sparse. They made that term. Everybody just ran with it, right? Right? But I thought that, given the complexity of the architecture, how long it's taking games, I thought they would build their studios to handle multiple projects. So that way you're not waiting for one game from Sony Ben. One game from, Sucker Punch. Because in my opinion, if the console generation is still like an 8-year generational thing, you gotta have more than one game from a studio, or one game and then the next game is a cross-gen to the next platform. Like, that's not enough games from the studio. Like, you buy a console, you own it for 8 years, and you can play one game from the studio? Like, I thought they would find a way to handle that. Whether it's a trip like Insomniac. To me, Insomniac's blueprint is amazing. They found a way to make AAA games, release AA games that are great quality, like Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, still give you your AAA games. They give you quality and what? I mean,
you think Miles Morales and Ratchet are AA?
Well, I'll put it this way: Miles Morales standalone is $50. It's not a full. It wasn't a $60 game when the standard was $60.
I mean, the budget for the game surely was pretty high.
But what they did was, you got Miles Morales to kick it off. They gave you Ratchet and Clank. Now they gave us Spider-Man 2, and they're about to give us Wolverine. That's 4 games. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Or something else. They're a force.
And I thought that they would try to replicate whatever system Insomniac has, how they're able to provide a combination, even Uncharted. I mean, even Naughty Dog, they found a way. Sure, they did a remaster with The Last of Us, but I think that was necessary because of the PS3. They couldn't make it backwards compatible. So they just took the opportunity to be like, hey, this game is huge. A lot of people were coming back to PlayStation. People who left PS3 came back to PS4. All right, let's make The Last of Us remastered. Good, right? Then that was 2014. 2016, they released Uncharted 4. 2017, Lost Legacy. And then 2020, The Last of Us 2. All right, that's pretty good for one studio releasing 4 pieces of content for the generation is good, right? I thought that's the formula. Find a way to balance AAAs and AAs and come out with 3 or 4 games in an 8-year period. But I think this move and shift for live service game slowed a lot of things down. It definitely slowed Naughty Dog. Remember, Extreme, we almost had a bet, and I said, you know what? We could cancel it because it was too easy. I'm like, we're not going to see a Naughty Dog game, a new one, till 2026. Because this live service game fucked everything up. I firmly believe...
still holding for 2025.
Yeah,
2025.
I'm like, this live service game really screwed up the train for everything. And I think it just slowed down the main thing that PlayStation was known for. I understand PlayStation going for live service game because I made a video where they spoke in depth. It was 2021. It makes sense. It wasn't so much a necessity. It was much of you would be crazy not to. And the reason why I say this is because they used Bungie as a case sample. And they said Bungie, when they started Destiny 2 in 2014, their profits grew 8%, 15% every single year. So from a business perspective, you're thinking, holy shit, 15% on this one game every fucking year? How the fuck can we not attempt to try this, right? Yeah. So people try to look at it, oh, Sony's doing that of necessity. No, they're a business. They see an opportunity of like, man, we can make money trying to do this. They're going to jump at it. Remember, I think not all decisions is a necessity. Some decisions is how. There's one thing we call agree on. Businesses will always try to say, how can we make more money? They're not simply going to sit there and be like, we're good. We make enough. No, they're always going to look at something and be like, you know what? This is an opportunity to make more money.
I just don't think it was a more of a opportunity play as a necessity play, because it wasn't just Bungie. It was 10 games across the board, multiple studios presumably working on this, and the industry is shifting from change palette taste wise from a younger market where the eyes are on your Minecrafts, on your live service games, and as much I'm not trying to dump. Look, the core game is us. Yeah, we prefer the old staple, right? We don't want our Roblox and all these Fortnites and shit. But they expressly say it. Jim Ryan says that it's a shame we can't be sequestered to this box. We have to look broader. Multiplayer strategy. I think the palette and tastes are changing. I'm not saying that definitively. The whole industry's you mix this in with the whole AA revamp, that shift. That's the industry shift that I think is really changing. For me personally, I think it's all changing. So it remains to be seen where we go with that. But I don't know. I disagree with that. I think Sony know what they're doing. Sony has been remarkably malleable in times of change. They did it in the PS4 generation at the best time. They did dual things: third-party money hatting, first-party bolstering, and the critical thing. That generation, they enhanced their digital library and digital audience, committed to that, the fan base, the masses, to that environment. So you got Phil Spencer saying like, we lost the worst generation, and it's true, they did. So don't dump. They make silly mistakes. The PSVR 2, I think, is a bit of a failure. I think they'll look at that as failure. Yeah,
and I don't see a future in that.
I think Bungie is also a failure. I think that was they benefit of hindsight. They would not have purchased Bungie. Hiroki Totoki says it very explicitly that we need better accountability. We hear reports of internal turmoil within Bungie. Like, the people are unhappy. The leadership has split. One half of it was trying to retain independence. The other half was actually begging to be bought by Sony, which will happen, by the way. It will happen. Marathon changes game director. Now it becomes a hero shooter. So Bungie is a very, very expensive mistake for Sony. It's $3 billion versus $70 billion, but it's Sony. It still doesn't have the coffers Xbox has. So that's the challenge. The PSVR fails. Bungie's not that great. They're still committed to GaaS. They look at Helldivers, and you're going to have a little bit of schizophrenia. So there is a challenge there as well. But I have faith in PlayStation in weathering the storm. But they'll be at the forefront.
But I think some of it's self-inflicted, because the biggest turmoil, when you think about it, on PlayStation, the very biggest turmoil on PlayStation is associated to GaaS. That's the number one turmoil.
It's also a big success, man. Helldivers is a huge success.
Yeah, but the problem is it's one-offs. Like this gen, really, how many big GaaS games brand new? But yeah, but brand new. How many big new GaaS games can we talk about for this gen? That's not the games in the past. We're not talking Fortnite, Call of Duty, Apex. Exactly. And here's the problem. But the PlayStation has the capacity, man. It seems like I have more faith in PlayStation's first-party studio. I said this on BG's show. I believe in PlayStation Studios' capacity to deliver incredible GaaS games more than others. But I don't understand. The PlayStation community seems to be a bit anemic to the idea. Like a SOCOM. So I'm gonna tell you my view. It's because I think GaaS games, right from the get-go, and this is just my view, doesn't really come from a place of creativity, but from a place of how can we milk gamers. That's more
typically,
often not.
Yes.
You know, like for example, Spider-Man almost becoming a GaaS game. That's fucking milk. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, that's milk.
That's milk, right? To me, that's just milk. Oh, Days Gone, rumors, or just people think about, Days Gone GaaS game. That's milk. Like Helldivers, it came from a place where it was already a multiplayer game. All they did was make it bigger. All right, I get that. That's a genuine game that started out as a co-op, top-down, killed bugs together, but they invested more money. All right, I could see the genuine nature of that game. But when you do Horizon MMO GaaS game, I'm like, bro, all you're trying to do is shadow an IP and see if you could sucker people. To me, that's not genuine. That's my thing. Like, look at Suicide Squad. That's not a genuine game. They just wanted to use Rockstar's popularity, the Batman IP, and try to sucker people into squeezing reoccurring revenue. Anthem suffered the same fate. And I think
the realization here about GaaS around about Knockout City and all those games that I think it's 2022 when they all started getting cancelled, and that's when the penny dropped on derivative baseless GaaS games. But Sony still have the stable. They can have SOCOM. They could do something. A Naughty Dog, like I tweeted on it. So like Naughty Dog doing multiplayer. Look, Neil Cuckerman, whoever he is, came on stage and they said this game, and I believed him. Like, they had a very ambitious vision that they was just as ambitious as The Last of Us 2. I believed him. I still, to this day, I'm shocked that the game got cancelled. I think Bungie misstepped there.
I'm glad.
I don't know. Maybe it was not that good.
But based on their words saying that they would be, because based on their word, and this is all we could do, they said they come a path of being identity. If they release this is who they are. Naughty Dog, games as a service, factions, all hands on deck, support this title. We move on from single player games, blah, blah, blah. And it's not like we haven't seen that. Because if you look at Rockstar, that pretty much happened to them. Once Grand Theft Auto 5 launched, they stopped making new IPs. They stopped. They fully, and they're even bigger than Naughty Dog. They have a lot more people. That's what they make. And if they're not making Grand Theft Auto, they're making Red Dead. And that's pretty much that's pretty much Rockstar. That's who they are. And for them, that's fine. So when Naughty Dog said that, I was like, you know what? I kind of believe that. If they saying, if we release this is who we are from here on out. That's it. You're not going to get new IPs from us, new single player. And I didn't want that.
Why did they take on in the first place?
I didn't want that, right?
Why did they take on in the first place?
You know, that's funny because I firmly believe, and this is just speculation, that they thought they can do it. And I firmly believe Bungie is like, listen, if you think you can do this and make single player, then please tell us how you did it because we can't do it. And I firmly believe our conversation was like a come to Jesus meeting came and be like, you are at the point where you're going to have to decide, do you want this project successful? And if you want factions to be successful, you got to sacrifice everything. And Bungie's like, that's our opinion. But you do what you want. And I think that's what happened. But that's just me. And I think Naughty Dog's like, this project became bigger than what I anticipated, so we got to have to make a decision. What do we want to do? And they said, you know what? It is what it is. We're going to stay who we are. And that's why I'm happy because they stayed who they are, right? That's just me. That's why I'm like, and I know some people are like, oh, they wasted money. Well, they didn't waste my money, so it ain't my problem. But if Bungie, let's say if Naughty Dog would have made the decision, say, you know what, we're all in. This is who we are now. I would have been like, fuck. Because I know, look, I even stopped playing Helldivers. I'm at level 7. And I tried to get into it. And it's a great game. But I'm really not into multiplayer as I used to be. I moved on from that. And as I'm not saying whatever. So this is more like a position of what Puerto Rock wants, what everybody else wants. And it's just, if we get what we get. If Naughty Dog would have went the way of GaaS, I would have lost out. Hey, that's on me. I probably would not. I probably would have bought factions, played it for like 2 weeks, and then that's it. And then that's it. That would be the last Naughty Dog game I would ever play. You know? You see what I'm saying?
I mean, GaaS is just primarily the reason how I would go back to PlayStation because I'm a multiplayer guy. Like, it depends on what they do in multiplayer. But either way, like, you're gonna get a mix. I'm very excited to see what PlayStation does with this roadmap. It has to be the state of play, and they'll show because we Sucker Punch. Like, I'm gonna see Ghosts 2. I'm gonna see. I mean, Bend is working on GaaS and Naughty Dog. Like, they're very early on there. But when are you going to see these games, Rock? If I'm going to ask you, you're going to see PlayStation's first party. The first, forget GaaS. This state of play. What are your expectations?
I'll tell you this. So this gen, and I talk to Jay Barry, and I tell them this all the time. I think there's two things at play. One is an assumption, and this is a little assumption. This is just me making shit up. I hope Sony did not delay showing content because of the Pro. Because somebody mentioned that, like planted that little bug, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm like, nah, they're not gonna. And then I'd be back, yeah, these motherfuckers would do some stupid shit like that. So like, and I'm thinking, oh, I would be so fucking mad if they have content and they're just holding it off because they want it to be part of the big Pro premiere. Highly unlikely, right? 2% chance, but it is so stupid that it could be possible because they think it's a good idea. But anyway, right? The second part is, I think there's a lot of developers, right, and publishers. They have this fear of showing games too early, and you've seen it. Gamers, even if the game looks good, they will find a way to make it look terrible. Doctor the image, talk shit about the performance. Like, let's be honest. Even when developers say, "Hey, we released a beta. We want you to guys test it out. Let us know. Give us feedback so we can improve it." They get criticized for betas. Like, you can't even really, like,
GTA 6's.
Yeah, the whole point of the beta is to help identify bugs. They get criticized. Oh, this game is running like shit. Like, bro, it's a beta. Like, the whole point is for you to help them improve. Don't go on Twitter making content talking shit. Let them know, hey, I discovered this bug. Hey, this is happening. This happens here. So they can go back, put in the work, and fix it. So you know when a beta gets bashed. Because people expect betas to be games that are gone gold. Like, what are you talking about? It's a beta, right? Remember the leak for Grand Theft Auto 6? where it was just like a developer
Bro,
in
that's what I was
progress.
mentioning now.
They bashed that. They're like, oh, this game looks like shit. Like, bro, you see the script running across the screen. Like, this, you weren't meant to see this. This is not something you were meant to see.
Yeah.
Like, that's, and I think that we did it to ourselves, or at least those guys who are knee deep looking for that kind of hurt us.
So you're saying PlayStation's potentially not going to... So you're saying either they'll hold off for the Pro reveal, or secondly...
Well, no, what I'm saying is if
early?
they show a game, and I think Extreme likes this, if they show a game, it's going to be close to release. They're not going to show a game and it comes out in 2027. It's coming out within the year.
Will they show something? Let me kill Extreme's boredom born out of
Your voice.
Yeah, or just for feigned interest. When do you think PlayStation's first party? What do you expect from the state of play? Do you think they'll actually show something? They have something in the works?
I don't care.
As long as that's PlayStation. Let me ask someone who does care.
No, let me finish. As long as when they do show something, that is something that is within 18 months. I have been vehemently against this notion of putting out a roadmap that stretches out 5 years. For what? What does that do for you as a gamer? What does it do? Like what? You're hyped like are you a child? No, you're not. So it's like you want a project to be revealed to you, and then for you to actually be able to play it, because that's the entire point. And I talked about this a few weeks ago, but the gaming industry is the only one that will reveal a project and then 7 years go by and you still haven't seen it. In film, usually shot and in theaters within 2 years. When it comes to iPhones, usually it is released to you and you can actually buy it within 6 months. Like we have the only entertainment industry or the only consumerism product where people will have the audacity to tell you that the game is happening before they even know what game it is that they are making. Take a look again.
That's not a lie.
Everwild.
Like, yeah,
it's like, what did that do for you? And they're like, oh, we don't know what kind of game it is. So I know that your question is very specific, and I guess I would like to be able to see about. No, I did answer it. Like, I don't care when it is that they are going to actually show the thing, but I actually demand that they show me something that is going to come out within the next 2 years. If you tell me that Sony's Ben's third project is going to come in 2029, that annoys me. When you talk about factions being cancelled, the one mistake that they made with factions, according to me, is that they even said that it was a thing before they knew what they were making. Because clearly the factions that they said was coming out in 2019 or whatever was not the faction that they were planning to release this year. And now that they've cancelled the whole thing, everybody's mad and everybody's upset. But if you hadn't said anything, then you have just cancelled it internally and then everybody moves on. So I'm tired of the whole, take a look at Hellblade 2. What has it done for you for the last 5 years to know that Hellblade 2 was coming? Nothing. If they had showed Hellblade 2 last year during the massive, showcase, and now it's coming this year, it would have been great. It would have been perfect. The marketing bit would have been better. The focus and the polish of the game that they would have shown you would have been better. I just think that if you're going to show a game that's 5 years out, I'm not interested. Me personally, I'm not interested. I know that Jay Barry disagrees with me. Persona disagrees with me. Many other gamers want to see these games that are 5 years in the making. I'm not interested in that.
Let me ask the Brain. Brain, do you think PlayStation will show a couple of games this year and soon? And what are you expecting on State of Play?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're going to show something, but at the same time, I actually lean more towards M on this one, just because of the fact that not to take a lot of time, but I think the gaming industry, there's three things that come to my mind that it does to its detriment. It's a combination of entitlement or an expectation, and then what Porter Rock was saying a little bit earlier, as far as with not early access, excuse me, with and there seems to be a confusion between early access and with betas. And I think, where I'm trying to go with this is that, for example, the first game that comes to my mind is Star Citizen. That game been in development since I don't know, going back to the past decade, going back to I guess 2016, and it still hasn't come out. It's still being developed, but you can still, if you want to spend $47,000 on a enterprise, style ship, you can do so and you can play the game. gone with early access games, and I know Steam is really guilty with this as well, as far as playing things before it officially comes out, but you can pay for it and you can play for it, and you're basically just being a beta tester, but you're not being called a beta tester. As far as with games coming out or being announced before they actually come out, I agree. I'll go as far as to say 2 years before, because of again, if anything more than that, now you're running the chance of the generation changing over, and a game that actually a really good game that falls into that category for me would have been Cyberpunk. Whereas I remember Cyberpunk 2077, I remember hearing about that at the very tail end of the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation, and anticipating for that to actually come out during the PS4 and Xbox One generation. But I'm sorry I went all over the place with my answer. But as far as with the state of play, honestly, GaaS, they have always been very lackluster to me. There's I can't really think of any state of play that really caught my attention, and I was like, oh shit, I can't wait to play that. Like I just don't get that any longer. I actually haven't felt that way since I want to say maybe E3 2016 or 2018, whenever the first Spider-Man was being shown.
2016.
I think that was the last time I felt that way about any game, with the exception of Nintendo. But Nintendo is a whole nother discussion with its games, because Nintendo's quality is always there, and Nintendo, to my knowledge, they don't announce games 5 years or even 3 years before they actually come out. It's more, I think no more than a year or two, then and then you hear about it. But to answer your question, yeah, as far as I'm pretty sure they're going to show something, but it probably be more, probably be something small on the damn it, what you call it, on the independent games. Because if I'm not mistaken, isn't this quote unquote supposed to be a dry year for PlayStation Studios? So if they actually did show something, I think to me that would be more of a surprise.
I think Hiroki was talking about it being a dry year, but no established franchises releasing this year. It wasn't talking really about the roadmap.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, based on my question to all of you, that your
Well, I didn't
seems
answer
to be
mine.
a lot much.
So
Oh, sorry.
I think,
yeah, sorry.
yeah.
Go
So for
What do you
me,
think?
I think right now, from a first party, I think at best, the only people I think I might be ready would be Sucker Punch and Blue Point. Those are the only two I could think off the top. And the reason why, we'll get into Sony Bend, but Sony Bend was working on an Uncharted game, and then that got pulled. And that got pulled in 2021. So if you were working on a project and it got pulled, and they say, hey, start a new one, you're not going to be ready in 3 years. You're just not. You're not going to have something ready in 2024. You're 3 years into your project. And that's assuming when you start in 2021, because you still got concepts. Maybe they already have something in the background. They'd be like, all right, hey, the other thing we're working on, hey, let's put that in the front of the aisle. Let's start working on that. But I don't see them 3 years into development and they're going to show it. Like, I don't think Sony's going to do that. I think Sony's going to show, if they do show something, it's similar to what Extreme might say. It's going to be something you're going to launch within like 18 months, right? And I think the only ones that can probably do that reasonably is Sucker Punch and Blue Point right now.
Okay,
Maybe,
so
I mean, they should also show
Housemarque?
Concord, right? Because
Yeah,
they
maybe-
did promise us Concord.
Yeah,
this year.
Concord,
So
yeah,
they
that's a
should show
new.
that.
That's
Yeah.
a new, right? Maybe
Whatever the fuck that
Housemarque,
is.
if they go for another AA game, right? Because I could reasonably see Housemarque knocking out a game, 3 years in time, maybe 3 and change, have it ready, as long as it's not a huge big AAA game, right?
I mean, they could do a Returnal sequel, even though they typically don't like doing them. But
yeah,
you know,
they could
stranger
do
things
that,
have happened.
Or they could do like something similar to what the Helldivers did. Take something that was a legacy IP and then make it into something bigger, whatever. So maybe potentially that. But I do think this GaaS stuff put a curveball into this well-oiled machine, and so in whatever word we want to use, the huge decision to say, hey, and it wasn't just a decision to make the game, it was also resources, because Sony also publicly showed the shift in resources, money, to get this stuff, right? So a good portion of their money was to do this, right? Yeah, single player games were still
But it's
being
not a
funded.
pivot.
Yeah, you know.
It's not a
but,
pivot.
I mean,
Okay.
like I said, we probably could
Semantics,
argue a semantic on the
It's not
terms,
semantics. It's literally just accelerating the strategy that we're gonna do.
Gas,
Again,
yeah.
I
But it was
semantics. Okay.
yeah. But to me, that if we're gonna use the word accelerating, they put their foot on the pedal all the way to the floor, and they just said,
All the way, yeah.
you know, all the way through instead of a moderate speed to control the environment, right? In my
180
opinion,
turn, 180
the-
turn there, but
yeah.
that's not a pivot.
and I'm not a business guy, right? I'm not the CEO, but I would ask the question: the first party is what gave us the name back, because PlayStation 3, I would have been like, let's say if I would have been working there the whole time, like if you don't remember PlayStation 3, we were junk bond status. It was bad for us. Luckily, our first party saved us because that's the only thing we had left. Blu-ray didn't do much. You know, trying to cure cancer, we're folding at home. You know, PlayStation Home, that was a pedophile breeding ground. Like, all this shit was fucked up. You know, like, all this shit. You know, you remember PlayStation Home, that shit they did? That shit was a pedo breeding ground. All this shit is messed up. You know, all this shit was messed up.
I didn't go. I never actually used it much.
Yeah, so you see, yeah. So that, you know, they try to say, hey, save people's lives by folding at home using PlayStation 3 processing power. You know, none of that shit was working. But what did work was just game after game, first party after first party. Sony was just throwing shit at the wall and everybody was loving it. Sony doubled down on the PlayStation 4 with first party, and it worked. It worked masterfully. Like, it was almost as seemed people try to look at PlayStation as, oh, it was always about the first party. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Motherfuckers did not buy a PlayStation 2 because of Twisted Metal. They bought that shit because of Grand Theft Auto 3. That shit came out in 2001. It was over. Xbox, the war was over. Grand Theft Auto, Devil May Cry, Metal Gear Solid 2, Final Fantasy 10, all in the same year. Wrap. Done. Who the fuck is not going to buy a PlayStation 2 with all those games, right? It wasn't because of, you know, Ico, even though they're good games, but it wasn't because of Ico and Twisted Metal. Those wasn't the system sellers, right? Even though it was a good game. But 1 year where you had Devil May Cry, Metal Gear Solid 2, Final Fantasy 10, and then goddamn Grand Theft Auto 3? Fuck. It's over. The war's over. Like, who cares about anything else, right? PlayStation 4
that's what I'm
down.
saying. Like,
yeah.
the landscape is changing.
Yeah.
And Xbox going third party eases the pressure off Sony to do that.
So let me talk to you about that. So I understand the Gen Z, and I ain't gonna claim.
I don't want it to be true, by the way. I'm not a proponent for this.
But I'm gonna ask you.
I want to make it clear.
I gotta ask you. You don't think also telling the people you don't gotta buy a console impacts
That's stupid.
the circle? Like, and I understand, Mike. I get Gen Z data, but I would be like, but Phil, you guys said
I don't agree with that.
You guys actually made a commercial that said no console required. So you guys are creating something while at the same time telling people you don't gotta buy it. You don't think maybe just a little, Phil, just a little tiny bit that might have fucked things up? You don't think telling people you ain't gotta buy our shit might impact like. Bro. You know, you don't see Sony saying, hey, we got PlayStation Cloud, so you ain't got to buy. No, they're going to tell you, hey, you enjoy Cloud? Okay, cool. But don't forget to buy a PlayStation because you got to buy that too. You know, that I'm thinking, you know, and I'm thinking, you don't think, oh, but Gen Z buys different. All right, but you don't think, I don't know, launching a new console with no games might impact, you know, you don't think those things might also impact stuff, you know, like I kind of think, you know, how you sell, how you market your console, right? If you're constantly saying you can play everywhere or you don't need this, and you're constantly feeding the consumer that, they're not gonna think about your console. You know, you gotta, in my opinion, you make a console, you gotta make it all about the console. Like that's all people need to hear. Xbox, you gotta get an Xbox. Buy an Xbox. Hey, we got 2 Xboxes. One high powerful, one cheap one. Xbox. Don't advertise PC all goddamn day. Like don't have an event called PC Xbox event. No, fuck that. PC, get out. You got BlizzCon. Deal with that. That's your shit. Like, fuck out of here. Don't Don't even
Sony
mention the word PC. Just don't leave it alone. Like, what the fuck is you talking about? Like, PC, Xbox, fanfare. No, fuck PC gamers. Let them stay in their basement. Shut the fuck up. Argue goddamn NVIDIA, AMD wars. Leave us the fuck alone. Like Xbox, don't mention PC's fine. PC's fine. You ain't gotta advertise PC. The PC gamers know PC exists. They don't need you to advertise to them. They got Steam. They PC's well established. No one has to mention them. And I'm like, yo, Xbox is saying all this shit about PC. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up.
I love that Blaze in the chat goes, Sony baby. When if it's your reality, he's all about NVIDIA baby.
Yeah.
It's
like
I always
GaaS. When I saw Starfield, I saw I was watching a movie. In fact, I think it was Twisted Metal, and they had a Starfield commercial, right? And they show it, but they show it for cloud and said like no console required. Yeah. And my wife asked me like, "Oh, you don't need an Xbox to play that game?" And I'm like, "Man, Xbox fucked up." Like, I'm like, wow. That was the first time my wife said, like, "Oh, you don't need an Xbox to play that game no more?" And I'm like,
the fact that your wife said that, I don't know how big a gamer
because
she
knows a little bit about the games we play. She knows a little bit about Xbox, right? She knows the bullshit I do. People think, "Oh, your wife must be a bad." I'm like, no, she got my back. Like she she's a true wife. She supports my bullshit is her bullshit, and she had to accept it. But when we saw the commercial, and that was her first question, I'm like, I don't think Xbox knew what they did. They literally are encouraging people to say, "Oh, I don't need to buy an Xbox." They should have never done that. Cloud should have been just like, "Hey, Xbox gamers, just to let you know, we provide cloud, so that way when you're not home playing on your Xbox, you can still play Xbox. But when you come back home, you better play on your Xbox. Turn that sucker on." Like,
it's astounding that Microsoft still commit to this strategy, despite the fact that the metrics show that 90% plus of Game Pass subscribers come from the console. So you're biting at the hand that feeds you, and then you're trying to get this blunderbuss approach of everyone, and you're not there. You're not there yet. Where are you seeing these metrics? This is why I called it out on social media today. I'm like, I'm sorry, but your Gen Z metrics fly in the face of what Sony and Nintendo are doing.
That's the Gen Z. Like, then who's buying?
I get it.
Is it just us old motherfuckers?
I can't answer that definitively because, bro, like, let's be real, man. Like, loads of kids, loads of the new gen. If you ask them, they're on tablets, they're on PC. Little kids now ask for PC bills. They just do. So. I don't know if we're the aging dinosaurs, but
who's buying PlayStation? PlayStation consoles are selling like hotcakes. Listen, here's the thing: 21 million console sales in a year is a lot. That's not a small number. It's not.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like that's why when people say, "Oh, things are going bad," I'm like, PlayStation just sold 21 million in a year. Like, how many goddamn consoles people expect is going to sell to consider failure?
The fact that it was keeping up with the PlayStation 4 to me was very surprising. And then that is, I think it would be a surprise to PlayStation themselves, which means it bodes well for the PS5 Pro.
And this is what's crazy.
I don't know.
Think about this. It's selling on pace with PS4 at a higher price point because by this time, around this time, PlayStation 4 was $250 to keep selling. To keep selling, they got that sucker down to $250, $300 with Uncharted. PlayStation's still selling this thing at launch price of $399, and you can't even get a disc with it.
Imagine what the PS6 is going to do, P-Rock, when Xbox, I assume, really kind of bows out on the adversarial and goes third party. A lot of Americans who, I think America is a strong base for Xbox, they're going to go to PlayStation as well. You're going to see something potentially even bigger. I don't know what the market to yourself. I don't have the answer, but
but you have the market to yourself pretty much.
It'll be crazy. They'll have the market to themselves. They'll have a monopoly.
Yeah. Let me hit up the super chats, and then we'll talk about Sony Ben real quick. Well, I'm gonna touch on one last thing with Xbox Europe, but we got Rome. He says Hiroki era about to be goated. I don't care about Xbox. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't like her because I saw the full hour of the Q&A to make a video. Super, all you guys who watch on my channel, you better subscribe because you owe me that much. That was painful to watch a full hour of that, but I watched it because I want to see the whole spec, right? And Hiroki, he's very business minded, right? And he just said some things. He did make some interesting points, right? And I will say this one point I'm surprised nobody is actually talking about. I don't know why, but one question that was asked, and this is, and I guarantee you probably didn't even notice because no one's talking about this one question. There was a specific question from an investor, and they asked Hiroki, if MAUs, monthly active users, are at record numbers, then why didn't the money, correspond to the amount of MAUs? So MAUs went up, but not the revenue. And his answer was, while the people who are playing these games, they're not actually spending the money. Meaning, like all these free-to-play games.
Did you say that?
Shit. Like he said, MAUs went up, but not the revenue because the people are playing, but they're not spending the money. And when you look at Sean Layden, when he talked about Barry's podcast, he said a lot of these free-to-play games are really only supported by 5% of the 5% of the people play. The 95% are not spending anything. Nothing. He said that on his podcast. He said 5% at most. You know what I'm saying? So like MAU, so I'm thinking Sony's also looking at this whole MAU metric, even though they say it's an important part, but it doesn't necessarily translate to money, and nobody talked about it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk about it because everybody's going to think I'm just, Sony corporate cocksucker. I'm like, I'm going to leave it alone if nobody really cares. But I found that interesting where PlayStation had record MAUs, but it didn't translate to record money because of it. Interesting point, right? So I'm not really sure about Hiroki. I think they need a proper CEO that's been around with PlayStation. CEO. You know what I'm saying?
Hiroki's going to take PlayStation to the promised land to another level. I'm telling you.
Let me tell you.
Promised land, they could
fuck it all up. They could fuck it all up.
No. You're fascinated. You're fixated on the whole other platforms thing, but take it away from that, man. Hiroki, from his demeanor, and I've worked with the Japanese company, and the way he speaks business and the way how ruthless, not even ruthless, but frank about talking about what Bungie, holding accountability. If anyone's going to fix Bungie, it's Hiroki. I would rather have Hiroki Totoki, I said this on my podcast just before I came on here, of all the execs in the space, Phil Spencer and all of these, Hiroki is the man.
But I'm going to ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is he doing it? But let me ask you this. Fixing, we'll use that term. Is it the intent to streamline processes but still create creative games, or he streamlining processes to put more money in the pockets of investors? There's a difference.
This is business.
I know, but guess what? What's best for investors may not be what's best for us.
Yeah, but that's where I'm nervous about. That the reason why you're a PlayStation fan is because this is a media company that actually appreciates creativity as opposed to Microsoft, which is a software company. So unless something has fundamentally changed there, I would never say that. I'm not suggesting that Sony has diluted its creativity. I think it is a leadership perspective. You need someone who does look at things like this. For him to say accountability from Bungie, this is a Western outfit that's been amalgamated. It's quite a risky thing to say, by the way. The internal politics of that, the dynamics of saying that and putting that out publicly won't bode well. Like Jim Ryan may have been reluctant to say that. Hiroki put that straight away. And that changed the power dynamic completely, by the way. By releasing that statement, it shows to Bungie, you're on thin ice. They may have had these meetings behind the closed doors, but making that statement public is a very different kettle of fish. PlayStation fans, as much as I make fun of them saying, like, oh yeah, they lose. This is a big mistake, Bungie. He can fix that. That. That's
but the question is for who?
In Hiroki Totoki.
Is it for who? Who's
But a like dead Bungie is not going to help anyone.
Okay.
But an effective Bungie, no matter what it is going to help. And I think Hiroki Totoki's got that. To me, he's just a good leader. He's a breath of fresh air compared to Phil Spencer. Or whatever leadership is that.
We'll see.
I like this guy. I like
Phil takes Blue Chew. Oh boy. Phil says Stella Blade Girls is too sexy for games. Yeah, that was that whole Microsoft. I don't even want to jump on that because that's just going to bring the anti-woke crowd, and I'm not in with that. And
there's no discourse there. It's either two left, two right, and
I got it. Yeah, I just, whatever happens, whatever games they make. Shattered Glass says, don't care about 7-year game debut or multiplayer. And the Xbox first party BS needs to stop. Resident Evil, FF7, Metal Gear Solid, etc. PlayStation has always thrived on first and third party. That continues. So I think Shatterglass talking about the holistic approach of what PlayStation does. Just all the multiple lanes to ultimately say, hey, play on PlayStation because first party, second party, third party exclusives, third party deals, and just nonstop, right?
Sorry, I'm just laughing at chat. Warren goes, GaaS is only talking on pony shows now because the Xbox community isn't paying as much as they used to.
Shit, I ain't paying shit either. We broke as fuck.
Me.
Why you think?
You think I do this for the money?
Yeah. Not on this channel. So let me ask you this. How do you, this whole GDC conversation, right, of pretty much, Europe is lost. Hitler, hey, they just told Hitler, hey, Berlin has been taken over. The Allied forces, shadow Berlin. It's over, bro. It's over, buddy. Like, take the cyanide pill. It's over, right? So talks of GDC talking about developers, whether it's one developer or publishers, mixed signals. But looking at Xbox, like, man, is it even worth to put games on that platform? You know what I'm saying? What you're getting, what is your perspective? Because I know this definitely impacts you because you're in Europe, so it's like you're there. What?
I don't think London or the UK is a threat of that. We're talking about the wider Europe and a lot of regions. Like if you go to Germany, and I used to go around,
they don't care. They
Xbox
give no
fan,
shits.
PlayStation fan, Xbox. Hardly anyone said Xbox. It was mostly Nintendo, and then it was PlayStation.
Yeah.
But in the UK, you'll have a little bit of a mix. It's still mostly PlayStation. But look, this is a meeting with Chris String, and he spoke to one person at a publishing outfit. I just be mindful of exaggeration there. Xbox is hard committed to it. Now, I'm not saying that we should ignore the fact that Xbox console sales are dwindling or full flattening, as he said, which is the case.
It's dead, bro.
I don't think
that's just dead.
So what do you think? If Xbox is going to commit to another piece of hardware again?
Okay. I will say this.
Like, despite that?
I will say this. I think it's kind of like Nintendo. Wii U was a complete flop. It was an utter flop. But Nintendo was smart to rebrand. They still make hardware, but they said, you know what? Let's send a different message, right? And with the Switch, their message was, hey, the strength is mobility. And I tell people, look at the very first commercial Nintendo launched when they introduced the Switch. The very first commercial was strategic. They had people already outside from the get-go of the commercial. There was people in the park. I don't know why you would be in a basketball court playing basketball, yet you're playing the Switch, but whatever. Dinner party, you're at the bar, like you're everywhere playing the Switch. On the bus, on the train. It wasn't towards the end where the person sat down and docked it where you got the message. And you're like, oh, so I got a nice, good-looking mobile device that if I want to, I could play home. Completely different message, a message Sony doesn't touch. It's not even close. That's an area where Sony can't compete, right? Microsoft
choosing not to.
Yeah. I think they're releasing new hardware because they still have one specific audience they can't let go, and that's the Game Pass audience on console. They can't just abandon them. Now, all right, so you're going to release a new console. Double down on that audience. That's your audience. Double down on the audience where you're going to do the one thing PlayStation will not do, right? And they're not going to do this one thing, and that's they're not going to give you day-and-day games on their service. They're not going to do it. They already told you. They're not going to go after, they're not going to put their big titles day one, and they're not going to go after the biggest third-party day one. They're not going to do it. Xbox audience 100% is that group that wants to buy a nice cost-effective console, $350, and just subscribe to Game Pass. They want all the new games on Game Pass. That's their audience. And that audience cannot be satisfied by PlayStation. Now, who knows how big that audience is? But in my opinion, Microsoft did not double down on that audience. With this two-school message of, we got the world's most powerful console, we got a cheap entry, here's Game Pass, here's PC. Well, don't even buy the console, just play on cloud. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Just say one thing. Just say one thing. And just what, like, I don't even know what you're saying. Do I buy the Series X or maybe the S? Okay, Game Pass. Oh, wait. Game Pass is on PC? Well, it's actually PC version got exclusives? Oh, wait, now I don't even need hardware. Like, Microsoft, what the fuck are you saying? Like, what do I get? Like, what do you want me to get? Just tell me what to get. They need to say just one message.
They can't even get that message out because they can't do marketing. So the only thing I've seen them marketing is Halo 2 show, the Halo Season 2.
Yeah, but just one simple message, guys. Next gen, hey, we got a nice affordable console that handles next generation games, and you play Game Pass, the only place we play day one games. Now that doesn't appeal you, but guess what? They can appeal to you. Because you're the high-end gamer that wants the biggest blockbusters to challenge Sony. They're not doing that no more. So just like Nintendo doesn't appeal to me no more. I was with Nintendo when it was the big console, the biggest games, and the biggest third party. That's the Nintendo I know. When people say, man, imagine a Nintendo with third party, I'm like, I lived that life. Double Dragon, Street Fighter, Mega Man, Final Fantasy. That was Nintendo. That's the Nintendo I know. Nintendo said we can't do that no more because PlayStation does it better. So you know what? This is our direction. And I'm like, well, for me, I'm not good on you, Nintendo. Do what you got to do. But guess what? They found a success. I think Microsoft, they need to keep the message simple, singular, and focus on that group. Because I guarantee there is a lot of gamers, they just can't buy $70 games. It's always been that way. There's a lot of gamers that simply cannot buy a lot of $70 games. They just can't. They won't. But
they won't do
$15 a month, they won't do it. But their message is just stupid. They'll literally launch a new console and that same day release a commercial. You don't gotta buy it. Like what,
bro? Like you saw the podcast. The podcast was the same shit. It was Sarah Bond saying, "Oh, this we're making for developers. We're access everywhere," and it was the same thing. It was massive schizophrenia, like with the Xbox strategy. Yeah. Unless there's nothing suggests what you, and I agree with you. I agree that everything you've just said, but
because to me,
no indication whatsoever.
Yeah. To me, cloud and PC will take care of itself. PC doesn't need. PC does not need PlayStation and Xbox to advocate for it.
Yeah,
the fan base has always been there. Microsoft, Steam is huge. You don't need to advertise PC. It's there. Everybody knows. It's huge. It's a conglomerate. It's worldwide. Some countries, that's their primary gaming platform. It's good. You're good. Steam, PC's good. Cloud, no one gives a fuck at this point. It's like it's so insignificant. It's not even worth the energy to even advertise it. Just let it be.
I don't get it. It's like they have more faith in cloud, for instance, and cloud services are just faltering now. If you've got bigger, longer queues, it still doesn't match up what GeForce Now is doing, which could have been disruptive if Microsoft's service was as good, delivering like freaking path trace gameplay with like people are like genuinely like, and Acer says take notice of GeForce Now, then take notice of it. But Microsoft's not there yet, so I don't understand the strategy. But you know what? They have to fix up. But I think it's Microsoft's so inept at so many different things, bro. Like they're always like this. This $1 trillion company.
I gotta get JD Gamer on this podcast, right? So we'll shout out with him. He says, JD Gamer, don't be misquoting Phil. He didn't say half that. He didn't say half what?
I think he was talking about the sexy females.
Oh, the sexy female. No, that was the Microsoft, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Phil Spencer
that's like a policy.
So
Phil didn't say that, but we're just joking. But there's I guess a policy on that, but we're gonna stay away from that because that'll attract the wrong crowd. MS can capture and regain market share for Xbox. Oh my God, JD Gamer, man. He says, all right, MS can capture and regain market share for Xbox consoles whenever they want. It just requires money, and as we know, they are willing to spend money.
But that didn't help that.
I don't know what to tell you. Guys, you see what I deal with? You see the shit I go through in my own podcast? This is what I got to deal with.
No, get the next one. He's got a point. Next message.
JD Gamer. Pay EA for FIFA exclusivity and market and support Xbox first-party games, including more language and regional support, and GTA 6. Those two things end this.
There you go.
All right, I got it, but they won't even keep their own games exclusives. You think they're gonna pay for FIFA? They won't even keep their own homemade shit like Rare. JD Gamer. Rare has never, ever made a PlayStation game. Ever. On the Nintendo, never touched PlayStation. When Microsoft first acquired them, never touched PlayStation. This is the first time in like 40 years of the company's history of Rare that they finally make a PlayStation game. And you expect Microsoft to pay for FIFA? Especially when like the biggest market of FIFA is Europe. They're not
listen. He wants them to pivot back, okay? He wants them to pivot. Okay? And I agree with him because I want I want a powerful Xbox. Okay, listen, Podork, I understand everything that you're saying. It's also very sensible, but it's incredibly lackluster. I want them to actually have.
I'm boring you on my own podcast.
Yes, exactly. I want them to actually have the world's most powerful console. I want them to actually put out games that are going to be. No, that wasn't more powerful. It was just a spec.
PC is Xbox.
We already talked about it. Listen. They need to actually have a demonstrably more powerful console. Listen, Serban came out there on that podcast, and the one way of hope that she put out to me was that she said it's going to be the biggest technological leap we've ever seen in a hardware generation. You're not saying that, and then somehow slotting yourself in between the next PlayStation and the Switch. Like, you can't say that and then be somehow in the middle of those.
But look at the term, right? Technical leap. That doesn't necessarily mean.
No, but she said the biggest we've ever seen in a hardware generation. For me, I'm like, you're shooting for the moon. You have to be shooting for the moon with that comment.
But I think technical leap is ambiguous. I think it could mean anything.
It is ambiguous and it is a market. But let me dream. Okay, let me dream.
I'll let you. You know what I said? I'm gonna let you rock. Let him rock. Let him cook. I'm gonna let you cook.
Xbox is going to do a pivot, okay? They're going to realize that exclusives was always the way. They are going to say, okay, we messed up. And I mean, the biggest mistake they made this generation was the Series S, right? Splitting the development between something that is less powerful and something that is way more powerful, because they're not even close in terms of performance. And I'm just talking about their generation, Series S to Series X. So they're going to get rid of that, not going to do a dual console setup. They're going to say, here's a single console. Let's call it the Series Z, just for conversation. And then it's going to be way more powerful than PlayStation 6. It's going to be the only console from Xbox. It's going to have exclusives, okay, like genuine, way better than PlayStation exclusives, like not even a comparison, okay? And then they are going to realize, oh, wait, they have money. So they're going to go and get third-party exclusives as well. And you're going to see the Square Enix games on Xbox. Maybe not the Final Fantasy, maybe not that, but everything else pretty much is going to come first on the Xbox. They're going to get rid of Game Pass day and date because really that is the one thing that is stopping them. Okay, they're going to fire Phil Spencer because clearly he shouldn't be trusted. Okay, and then they're going to they're going to bring back someone. Who was that guy that you guys always talk about? Like he was good during the Xbox 360. Yeah, one of them guys. They're going to bring them back, and then they're going to be like, boom, this is the person. That is the Xbox generation I want to live through for the next 10 years, okay? After this one is done, that's the Xbox generation I want to see, okay? And I'm not saying that somehow is going to destroy Sony or whatever. I'm not being hyperbolic, okay? Being very reasonable here. I'm just saying that I'm not being hyperbolic.
Now you're saying that.
I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not saying they're going to destroy PlayStation. I'm just saying they're going to be a genuine competitor to PlayStation and Nintendo. That's all I want.
Oh, that's all I want. Yeah, and I want to win the lotto. It's at $1.1 billion.
I remember I still want Beyonce. Never say no. So you know.
I don't know. JD Gamer again. He says, "I love armchair analyzing, but we don't know what they are really cooking in those back rooms. And if we can't think of these strategies, their AI already has." You know what? Microsoft.
I'm with JD Gamer.
No, but here's the thing. They can absolutely be cooking some amazing stuff. The thing is, it's gonna run better on the PS5 Pro. That's the problem. That's the problem, JD Gamer. They're probably gonna cook up masterclass titles. It's just gonna be better on the Pro. That's the problem.
Don't listen to him.
Do you like
listen to him.
Do you like the PlayStation guys saying they're gonna play the definitive edition? Come on, JD.
That's it. Wait,
JD,
my bad.
I
love JD.
Go JD.
He says, Need I remind you, P-Rock, there was a time nobody thought of Xbox buying ABK, and then we went through 2 years of copium, as PS fans said, it would never close. I mean, true.
Pretty much, exactly.
But we also never thought that we'd be making PlayStation games while buying ABK at the same time. We didn't think of that either. Listen, bro, we can do this all day, brother.
Listen to him.
I got this. I'm in my zone. I got snaps. We could do your mama jokes all day.
He's the only enemy in this YouTube streets. Don't listen to him.
Yes,
don't listen to him.
He said the next Xbox is going to be so big, a technical leap, it will disappear in a black hole it creates. I don't know, but like technical leap is
maybe not that big.
Term.
Maybe not that big.
You know, say it's
technically marketing speak.
It's marketing term. But let's talk about Sony Best
Live. How come GaaS is the one that is like downplaying the potential the next Xbox?
You know what it is? Like,
What
you know
happened?
what it
What
is?
happened?
Like,
What kind of pivot happened?
you know what it is? You weren't around in
What happened?
2020. You got to see GaaS in 2020. He was on his A game. He was like a brand new rookie.
Actually, that's true. I wasn't around.
He was like, you know, it was like Messi first year, fresh, young.
Thank
ready
you for
to take
using a
on.
football analogy. Thank you. I appreciate
because
that.
I'm not going to use
Jesus.
baseball because everybody would be like, who the fuck is Derek Jeter?
Yeah,
Like,
what is baseball anyway?
You know, so he
Is
was
that baseball?
Messi. He was Messi, you know, ready, fresh, young. I'm ready. We're going to take on the world. Yo, these guys have bravado in 2020. Bro, like, am I lying, guys? You guys, I haven't seen Xbox so energetic. And that
So
shit
fun.
went to
I sat out the whole Xbox One generation. I went to PC because it was horrible. Whilst me and King Thrash were battling on N4G of all forums, and
Oh, that was
I was like,
hilarious.
okay,
Yeah,
now
N4G.
I can come back. I can come back.
And
N4G
now-
was an
yeah.
absolute cesspit. And then I come back. It's time. This is it. They got the studios in 2018. I mean, I was watching from the background. Like, yeah, here we go, boom.
Like Delta was the
Power
new key
Delta.
term. Like you couldn't have a podcast without saying the Delta is 40%. Like
D-patch is
percentages.
propaganda. FSR is just like I was like, I
VRS
didn't even know
tier
what FSR was.
tier
but-
3.
Remember
but
the
D-patch got
velocity
me, and that-
architecture?
Velocity.
Oh, I love that term.
The
I
power
love
of
that one.
SSD, man. That year was magical for tech terms. God,
I was
and now
loving
look-
it. They got me in there. They baptized me in the sauce. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. D-Batch was saying FSR, and I was getting an erection, even though I didn't know what it meant. Like FSR. And then it's RDNA 2. I was like, I don't even know what RDNA 2 is.
Full RDNA 2. Then
Yeah, and in the meanwhile, Asa's telling me, by the way, this is not that great. I was like, oh,
I love Asa. Asa's like,
yeah.
he's so straightforward. He has his wine. And he's like, yeah, I'm not buying that bullshit. He's just like, well, nonchalant.
But even he said, like, look, from a raw hardware spec perspective, they should do well. And it didn't. That's a remarkable failure that even Xbox didn't predicate, or neither did Digital Foundry. So I'm excited. And then it's like Halo. Halo was the big one for me. I was like, what? Like, delay the game. Nope. Fans were, nope, Game Pass. And I was getting it from the splinters started to happen. Because I was new to the YouTube streets, new to the Twitter streets. It was a pretty big, like, fast growth in this space, not really realizing.
You got thrown in the walls, you be like, gotta learn
It's like,
quick.
well, he's
Like,
funny.
wait a
He
minute.
can edit videos. Let's just go. He's an Xbox guy. And I'm like, I am. And then I was just like, well, anytime there's a little pushback, Halo lost subscribers. Halo, like, and then 2022 happened. Phil Spencer, boom, death threats. You saw the shit. It's on site. This guy, I'm like, what is going on here, bro? this guy's going crazy. And then just when you thought, fuck it, ABK, we fought. I had to listen to that piece of
ABK.
shit. What's his name? Florian Mueller, that
Florian
moron.
Mueller.
He was telling everyone to block GaaS because the deal won't go through if you don't block GaaS. Like, quiet. This guy's a mental case. Doesn't matter. I've still fought the fight. Like, you know, ABK. That's it. $70 billion is gonna go through.
One.
Just
3 in the morning. The verdict came in.
Forza
I miss
doesn't do
out
that
on
well.
that
That was a personal hurt that hurt me a lot. Starfield didn't do that great. Great. It's still a good game. For fuck's sake, play it, Port Rock. But it's not. where
Yeah,
it
on the
needs to be.
Pro at 60 frames.
It will come out on PlayStation. You can play it then. And then
Such an asshole.
and then Florian is not a lawyer, really. He's just.
He's not a lawyer.
He's not. I don't think he's a lawyer. He's got a law degree. Is he talking? I don't think so. I think he's just an industry pundit. And then ABK's yeah. Immediately, they didn't even wait for the deal to get like cold. Boom, we're going to PlayStation. It's like, okay, great. And at that point, I'm just like, well, this company has just completely lost its mind. Like, it doesn't understand. Like, you have to be very, very, very hardcore to the Game Pass thing. I don't even want to hear the Game Pass lines. Like, I'm trying to downplay, like, my idea of what Xbox should be. It's not there. They're not competing. They're not competing like I want to.
What should they be? Forget the restriction. What should they be?
What should Microsoft be or Xbox?
Yeah,
Xbox,
like if you were the head of Xbox and you just went in there, you're like, you know what? From now on, this is my show.
If you have full reign,
What are you making? Full range.
full
You
reign,
have full
nobody
backing
can stop
in
you.
certain
Your
areas.
word is law,
And
and it's
I
happening.
mean, you get money, like money, like $2 trillion worth of money.
What would you
$2
do?
trillion worth of money. First of all, solidify your brand. Your brand has been diluted. Do not put any games anywhere other than PC, which you're committed to, hard committed to, fine, but not on PlayStation, not on Nintendo. Invest in a proper, like what M says, strong, beastly console. Make sure you undercut the competition, release it early. You might get gazumped on the power stakes when PlayStation 6 comes out, but you plant the seeds like the Bene Gesserit in Dune about the mid-gen coming after the fact. Go early, and now you got your software. You got your software lined up, which you've been waiting for. All these games that haven't come out, like Fable, that you haven't got Perfect Dark, you got Elder Scrolls. All of that is lining up potentially to an early release in a few years. Release your next-gen console early 2026. Now it's front-loaded with software and exclusives that you didn't have. The launch of this gen, disgraceful. Have that in there ready. Go ahead. This is your chance. You cannot compete with Sony. It will eclipse you if you're fighting on their terms. Go early. When did that work for them? The 360. Everyone laughed at the 360 back then. Ken Kutaragi talking about PlayStation's black belt, thing he's not even brown belt, and that shocked everyone. Do the same.
That was an expensive ass black belt. That shit was a $600 black belt. Like, what was he thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
And my question to you is, would you forego this generation? For example, you talked about Fable and the games that are coming. Would you say, okay, you know what, cancel the versions for the Series X and S, and then just make it for the next generation? Like, forget about this gen. Sacrifice it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bold
and
move.
with, what would you say with this in PC?
It'll be cross-gen. It'll be cross-gen anyway. Sorry?
Do you think it'll be cross-gen still?
Everything's going to be cross-gen. We have to come to the reality.
No, but I mean, this is your show. Like, what would you do?
If it's possible, like, it's conceivable, just have it cross-gen.
Because then you talked about this beastly console, but then you will still have to have a game that runs on the Series S. So really, what would you be able to do?
But the thing is, you have to think about development timelines. They won't suddenly just be able to leverage the power of the next-gen box fully, because you've been developing for the Series X, presumably, which they have. They have. So it makes no sense to forsake the last-gen consoles and the big, like, whatever market. Unless you could say to me, all right, we found a way where we can leverage the power of this box, and the game, fundamentally from a game design perspective, will work incredibly on the next gen only.
I'll be honest. So let's say if it was, if I was, and of course this is just fanboy banter talking, whatever. But if it was me, to answer Extreme's question, if it was me and I was tasked, you know what, make the console great again. Go out like Trump. Make Xbox great again from a console. I'll be like, I would do exactly. I would learn a cue from Nintendo. I would treat this generation's Xbox like the Wii U. I'm gonna cut this shit short. It's done. It's over. I'm not gonna have any association to this. Release a new console 2026. Even if the game was originally started on the series, we're gonna focus on the Xbox, new Xbox, and it's only gonna be there. Day one. Exclusives. Day one. I gotta cut the cord, right? Because the way I would see it as the series, the association of the series console wasn't a success. I got to get rid of that association. I gotta start fresh. Me personally, I would change my strategy on PC. The games on PC day one is only the Game Pass. Steam a year later. I would stop putting day one on Steam.
Okay, that's good.
People would piss off.
That's a good
but
idea.
who would actually be pissed off? Steam gamers. Well, guess what? You're not my priority. My priority is anyone who makes the decision to buy the console. That's who I'm looking at. It is what it is. Be mad at me? Oh, well, too bad. If you want to play the game on PC, there's only one place to do it. Game Pass. Because that's where my money's at. I'm not going to get a 70% cut on my game. No, I want all of it. All of it. So play it on PC Game Pass or play on my console or cry on Twitter. I won't even have a Twitter account. I'm not having no Twitter account. No one can reach me. No one knows my email. I'm not doing goddamn interviews unless it's like the one or two people I want to talk to. I don't even play Xbox, so forget about party chatting.
You're gonna go talk to GQ magazine at your mind?
We're not party chatting shit. I'm not playing games with you.
IGN.
I'm not talking to IGN. I'm not gonna be on podcasts.
Talk to GQ.
Paris Vicious 696. Who are you? I'm not talking to you. Get out of here. I'm not talking to any of you console warriors. Tim Dog blowing up my cell. I'm changing my number. No one knows me. I'm just making straight, raw business decisions. And everybody's going to know, hey, this new CEO, if you want to play Xbox, you either play it on Game Pass on PC or on the console or you're fucked. because he don't give a shit.
You're going to be a more hardcore version of Jim Ryan.
That's it.
Basically what you're
That's
gonna
it. That's all I want to hear. You play the shit on this, and I'm going to tell you, flood the goddamn theaters with, you need to buy an Xbox. The best games, the biggest blockbusters, and you goddamn right, I'm going to be buying third-party exclusives. All of it. I'm just going after. I'm going after.
Even though I hate it. I hate that strap.
I'm doing it.
But if Sony's not going to stop doing it, then freaking play it.
I'm doing it. I'm going to Grand Theft. I'll go
that would change
Grand Theft Auto 6.
everything.
I know there's no way to get exclusives, but I'll be like, hey, Rockstar, I'm giving you $100 million. I want an exclusive mission. I want an exclusive story DLC. $200 million.
Yep.
I want an exclusive story DLC. And they'll be like, all right, we'll make it. Here you go. Yep. I'm going all out. Everybody's going to know this new CEO is pretty much saying, buy Xbox console or fuck you. There you go.
And tell me why that wouldn't work with Gen Z. Why wouldn't that work with Gen Z?
You want to play my game? This is where you got to play it. Oh, I don't want my iPhone. Shut the fuck up. Go play on your iPhone.
Exactly.
You won't be playing this. That's it. I'll be like, the brand sucks anyway, so what more I got to lose? I'm in the best spot. I'm rock bottom. The only direction I can go is up with this. That's the way I see it. We already rock bottom, so what's worse? What? You're gonna threaten me not buying my console? You're not buying it anyway, so you can't hurt me.
Even JD likes it. JD loves it.
I'm telling you, this is exactly the energy that I like. This is exactly what I want to see. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The biggest critics would be the Steam gamers. I'd be like, bro, you play on Steam. Shut the fuck up. Unless I buy Steam, shut the fuck up. I don't care.
Oh, that's true. I'll buy Valve too.
You know, if I'm gonna put my game on Steam, I'll be like, we need to buy Valve then, because that's the only way I will keep doing it.
I mean, that was the plan already. Like, they should have bought Valve by now. They should have.
You know, say
anti-compete on that would be too hard.
JD Gamer said Xbox is going to employ the PS2 Dreamcast plan against the PS5 Pro. They announced the official specs of the Pro later this year, and the next day Xbox Series X2 specs and announced. I didn't know because Microsoft already revealed their console. They don't have any other console planned.
You know what the biggest change I will make to Xbox? I will call the next Xbox the Xbox 6. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I will just go back to a standard ass fucking name. It'll be the PS6 versus the Xbox 6.
Like, you know, like, what happened to 5? Shut the fuck up.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Series S was your 5 or whatever. Like, just count however you want to count. It doesn't matter.
It's the
goddamn. They did the same thing with the Xbox 360. They went a few numbers up. Like, that's the whole point. Number 3.
Listen. I'll just call it the Xbox 6. Everybody will know it's the PS6 versus the Xbox 6. I'll buy everything that isn't nailed to the ground. I will buy up the whole industry. And when they put me in court and like, this is a monopoly, I'll be like, yes.
Yes, like, you know, stop me.
Yes, it is.
Take me to court. You know, JD Gamer says, "I love it." P-Rock for Presidente. I'm like, that's what I would do. I will go hard, and I would say, you got to buy my shit. You gotta buy it. I'm not giving you a way out.
Guarantee you, this would leverage and change everything for Xbox. And these are business basics. But
you gotta be all right. Like, next topic. You know, now I want to talk about. I'll start with Extreme. So
it's funny we didn't talk about Sony Band at all. By the way,
that's what we're doing. That's the next topic. We're gonna talk.
Oh,
about
is this the one? Okay,
yeah, this
cool,
is it.
Because you said next topic half an hour ago.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, the next topic. You know, it's just anyway.
We got distracted.
Sony Ben.
Yeah.
Through blah blah blah. Looking for hiring a seasoned veteran in the lead position for a AAA live service game. Now, of course, that could mean another project or it could mean their next project. So let's, for the sake of conversation, to streamline the conversation, let's assume it's their next project. They want to hire, a AAA lead developer experienced in live service games. So Sony Ben, next game being a live service game, just for the sake of conversation, because it could be a totally separate project. Extreme, how do you feel about that? Like, what do you think? Like,
what has
based
Ben
on Sony
created
Ben's
besides
reputation, whatever.
Besides Days Gone, what does it create?
They created the game Logan Siphon Filter, right? Siphon Filter actually. They created Siphon Filter, which is single player. I think one of them had a multiplayer. No, I can't remember. I don't think it did.
Okay, they created a bunch of Siphon Filter stuff, and then there's Resistance there, and then there's Uncharted a little bit for the PlayStation Vita, and then there's Days Gone. Okay, so my history with Ben, is only Days Gone, pretty much. I didn't play any of the other ones. So for me, I don't care until they show me what the project is. Like I've always been the one to say GaaS games suck, except for the ones that don't, right? So you're gonna put a GaaS game in front of me, and it's either gonna suck or it's not. From Stars, it sucked. I played one match of it. I barely got through the tutorial. I have never wanted to delete a game so much at the tutorial level, because it was all of this fake happy stuff, like, oh my god, we're gonna go to a party, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not here for that. But yeah, I got into the first match, didn't even finish it. Actually, no, I did finish it, and then I deleted the game. So if it's going to be a game like that, then obviously that's going to be disappointing. But one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want them to release it. I don't want them to show it the first time the way they've done Fair Games, Concord, and Marathon, right? Like, you guys know how much of an issue I had with those games because you didn't show anything. Concord had a sandwich. Fair Games had like a Payday 2 lookalike thing looking forward. And then Marathon had like a masked person with a gun. And I was like, what the fuck are these games? I have no idea what these games are. So for me, when they finally do release it, which will be the first time, when they finally do show it, which will be the first time that I care that I will either care or not about it, I want it to be something concrete. You know, I think Helldivers 2 even had a better reveal the first time around. It had a better idea of what that game was going to be. And then obviously the subsequent trailers kind of showed more and more of that. So listen, for right now, whether to go single player or multiplayer or live service, I don't really care right now, because the OG alluded to the fact that we're not getting Days Gone 2. So it's like, well, your OG, you know what you said? You can only go up from there, I guess. Like, the OG rock bottom for me, because I would have loved to have a Days Gone 2. And I think that Days Gone should have had a multiplayer component, because if you remember, they have those challenges that you can do outside of the main story. You can just kind of run these hold missions. And I always thought that should have been co-op, you know? So, yeah. Without any more information, I don't know how people bring themselves to care about this one way or the other.
Okay. All right. Guys, I know you say you have huge faith in Sony's first party delivering quality GaaS games. But now keep in mind, Sony Ben never made a GaaS game. They were all single player driven on every platform that PlayStation, they produce game for PlayStation. How do you feel about a potential, their first project for the PS5 current generation being a GaaS title?
Give me a siphon filter if you can make it work with multiplayer. I guess that would be amazing. I love siphon filter. But I mean,
is this something you were hoping for? Like before, let's say.
I mean, siphon filter was never a multiplayer game.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So what were you expecting for Sony Ben? Like, were you a single player experience, or were you hoping for them to move on and do something different? In general,
I mean, Sony Ben wasn't really on my radar, apart from Siphon Filter and Days Gone. Yeah. I still think it's a misstep, which is a remarkable. I think it's a bit of an exception with how Sony treated Sony Ben, because when I played a bit of Days Gone, it wasn't really for me. But if you listen to John Garvin behind the game, he was very defensive about the game on David Jaffe's show, and he echoed the sentiments of a lot of people that do play and enjoy it. Say that after the 5 hour mark, based on the way the game developed, the pace changes and the game is really good. I'm not going to.
He's right about that. He's actually right about that.
He is.
It takes about 6 hours to get into Days Gone.
Third camp, but it takes a while to get to the third camp.
It does. It takes about 6 hours. It took me about 6 hours to get to a point where I was like, oh, I get what this game is. And the holds were still way too late. Like, holds are like 18 hours in. Yeah, way too late.
I think pacing, the way they developed the pacing. Well, one, they got to take responsibility on the quality of the game. Because when it first launched, there was a lot of issues. And I'm thinking, all right, you know what? They're probably going to have like a patch within the next couple of days. And I swear to God, this is not even exaggerating. It seemed like every 3 days the game was getting updated. And I'm like, another update. All right, another update. I'm like, how many? I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to touch this game till like after a month. And there was like 12 updates in the span of 2 months. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I played it like 2 months later, and it was running good. But a lot of people telling me, yeah, you lucky you were patient, because if you played it day one, frame rate, glitches, it was not in good shape. Now after, and I always say this, a lot of games, you developers have to realize, you know, it's how's the saying goes? It's first impression, and if you ruin that first impression, it is hard to get rid of that stigma, right? And I'm thinking,
And it's very
damn.
hard, it's unfortunate for the company because the way the development worked, and John Garvin was explaining how they developed the game, it couldn't have been that way. And then they learned as they went along, but to decouple the starting 5-6 hours of it, just logistically impossible. But the
I
problem
mean,
with
that's one. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say it did deserve to fail because of those like glitches and bugs. Like because you're right, pacing. That's one thing that by the time you're 5 years in, it's incredibly hard to go and fix the beginning of the game. No problem. But the way that they came out with bugs and glitches, and guess what? You're a PlayStation studio. I don't care if other companies can get away with it. If Cyberpunk can survive having a terrible launch and then be one of the best-selling games ever, right? But you're a PlayStation studio. People expect quality from you. Like your cohorts have pretty much been like, this is almost every single time a guaranteed day one great experience. So they came out and then they dropped the ball and they deserve to fail. There is a good reason that they failed and that they got that Metacritic score, and deservedly so. We pay full price day one. Our money doesn't have patches in it, right? Like we don't say we're going to send you 55 and we promise you 15 2 months later. So the point is this, for me, from PlayStation Studio, I hold you to the highest standard. And you failed to meet the PlayStation Studio standard. I don't care if we can come up with hundreds of examples from third parties where they release a game and then 3 months later they fix it. Like take a look at Rainbow Six Siege, right? People will be like, oh yeah, that obviously improved a lot tremendously, but it's not a PlayStation Studios game. If you're a PlayStation Studios game, you need to be great day one. And if not, you deserve to fail. So it is a good thing that they didn't receive the amount of support from Sony that they should have, because they failed the Sony class. I'm sorry. Like, it is what it is. But
my point is that Sony's PlayStation and Phil Spencer even acknowledged PlayStation allowing, if you give Knack a second chance, why not Sony?
That was weird. I agree.
Yeah.
Like Knack
And
2.
what-
But it was because it's because of connections. The guy created the console.
You make it like, what the fuck?
Listen. If Mike Sony comes to you and he's like, listen, I'm not really sure about being a whole architect thing, but if you let me do Knack again, I guess I'll stay around. You'll be like, yeah, we'll pay for Knack.
Oh, so he's strong on them?
maybe.
He's like, I make
maybe.
Knack 2, I'm out of here. And I'm
Yeah,
working for
listen,
Microsoft.
all he had to say was like, hey, listen, for me to be invested in making another console for you, I really would like another crack at Knack. And people are like, yeah, okay, Knack's your price, done. Like, just write it down on the check how much it's going to cost.
He's strong
but
on
thing is-
Sony
Like,
to
do you
making
think I'm
that
going to use
shit.
the brain of my
If you want me
operation
to
for my
make a
entire hardware
PS5,
generation?
I gotta make Knack 2. That's the deal.
Yeah, let me just put it this way. If Mike Sony said, I want us to make Days Gone 2, they would have made it.
Oh, you
Yeah,
know,
well, perhaps.
maybe.
But I mean, Days Gone sold very well. Days Gone sold like 8 million copies.
But
Yeah, but he sold them at a
But
half price.
in the
He sold them at a half price.
he
And
did
later,
say on Jaffe's podcast that you gotta buy the games at full price, not when it's sold. And I think that's because that game did drop. Because even I know, because I bought the game at $60, and like 2 months later it's like at $49. I'm like, fuck, I could have waited.
But I'm telling you, like Days, like, and I agree with John Garvin. Having not even played the game, you can tell. Like he was saying, if we got a second chance, Killzone 1 got a second chance. And that
Now,
didn't
to
do
be
that well.
fair, he did do an interview with USA Today. So read that one. That was interesting because there was more context he revealed in USA Today that he didn't reveal in Jaffe's podcast. Just put John Garvin, USA Today, and he talks again the whole process. But what he didn't mention on Jaffe's podcast was Sony Ben switched up their organization in terms of to a management team. So before it was usually one guy who greenlighted projects. Sony Ben decided to create like you could say a council. And the vote, they all had a vote on whether a project goes in. And he was in the USA article, he's like, this is stupid because now instead of one guy directing, you have multiple people. And then they voted on it and they will say no. And that's one of the reasons why he quit and left, whatever. Apparently, it was them who didn't greenlight Days Gone 2. It never made it to Sony. The plan was pledged. The council said whatever. It was like a management team. That's specifically what he just said. So the Sony band management group said no. We want to work on something else.
Okay.
The vote came in, and that caused a whole type of mess, and that's why he left. And I think somebody else, Jeff Ross, I think is his name, he quit too because Sony band. They said this is and they said this is just stupid. Like it needs to be one creative director, one final decision, and not this stupid group think tank. And that was so like I invite you to read that. I was like, holy shit, that's kind of weird. But
that's
just
why
keep
it
going.
makes sense. Like Sony doesn't do this. Sony does, and Phil Spencer gave props to PlayStation for giving chances to second chances or third chances to IPs that don't typically do well because developers find their feet. But that makes sense. So it's an internal studio issue.
Yeah, it's a USA Today article. He did a full interview, and it was like a big article because it talked about the whole right from the very development of the game and all the stuff. He even talked about because the character dies underwater instantly, and that was like negatively received well, but they couldn't do nothing about it because they were too big into the game. So it was a whole bunch of stuff they mentioned, but he did talk about this management team that Sony Ben has, and he thought he disagreed with it. That's why he left. I think he got fired and Ross left. One got fired, one voluntarily left and said, fuck this shit. I don't know which is which, but it was both of them because they said this is just stupid now, this whole Sony Ben management team, and they make all the decisions on what you do. And because it's a group, it takes forever for a decision to be made. And they just hated it. But ultimately, it was that group that said, yeah, we're not doing a Days Gone 2 for whatever reason. And it's just...
I haven't seen the game. I don't know what their live service game is. I don't even know if it's confirmed if it's live service. But the optics of Siphon Filter coming back, even though it's older, even the older people, very few people played it, apart from the PlayStation faithful like me. Day one. Siphon Filter was incredible. Still remember the way the guy runs. And with this little taser. But the name has gravitas and has a meaning behind it, like something like System Shock. And that permeates and cascades down. People are like, oh, who knows what Perfect Dark is? No one knows what it is. But the word spreads around. Just like Elden Ring. Elden Ring, like, was a niche game, remember? Niche, but that spread to the masses because it comes from the core gamer. So it's I don't know. It sounds like Sony Ben's management already a bit screwed, so it's a bit weird. But I don't know. I would love to see SOCOM. Bring SOCOM. I said that's brilliant. Bring Siphon Filter, and I'm just like, all right.
That one
like you're doing multiplayer and you're doing single player and you're doing these things. Let me go back to PlayStation.
That's one surprise. Like I cannot fathomably believe that Sony is not doing something with that iconic name of SOCOM. It's iconic, and to just leave it dormant, like give it to Guerrilla and let them run with it. Like it's an iconic name, SOCOM, U.S. Navy SEALs. That I'm telling you, that iconic name will bring back if they make a quality game already backed with an iconic name.
Third-party military shooter would go crazy if it's good. Could do well.
Obviously, it has to be good. That's obviously right. The name can only go so far. But you already have the iconic name. It's associated with the PlayStation brand. You just got to back it up with a quality third-person shooter. Great single-player campaign, great multiplayer, do your GaaS service, the full package. I think they could do it with that one.
Warren says, who's buying it though, P-Rock? Like, a lot of people bought Helldivers, and it's not exactly doing something like remarkably new. It's a horde mode, but really well in that sense, but in a limited capacity. SOCOM is done well, and again, big theoretical, done well, could make big waves eclipse Helldivers, man.
Yeah, so it's like SOCOM, if they did it right, they could bring back the slow 4-on-4 tactical multiplayer, like not this fast pace, everybody run around, like this Call of Duty slide on the ground and all this weird shit. Like team focused, tactical, small,
like proper body damage as well. Like your leg, you start limping. Like this is what gamers want. This is what gamers want. They want more like complexity, not that. What happened with Battlefield and what the DICE people were saying about lowering the complexity threshold
like
in games.
Goddamn tornado in the middle of the fucking map. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, like a sandstorm. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is just all this weird shit. Like a more complex multiplayer
Wait,
shooter.
so you're saying that SOCOM was like the slower tactical based stuff?
Yes, it was not a fast.
Okay, this is the first time I actually care about it. Okay,
it's a very slow tactic. That's literally like even throwing the grenade, you can't just run and chuck. Like you got to press one button and then another button. Like you can't just run and chuck and throw a grenade and instant kill. You had to be tactical with it and stuff like that. So it was
not
very
just a
good
third-person COD.
Tactically,
it's something deeper.
It wasn't a third-person COD. It was a very slow, tactical, grounded type title, which was amazing. It
so
wasn't just,
is it closer to Rainbow Six Siege?
Kind of, but even
kind
more
of,
different.
even slower, even more tactical.
Okay.
It was very slow. It was very
I like this.
yeah.
I like
It
this.
was very
Okay.
slow,
Cool.
methodical. You know,
And
you
Gen
I'm
definitely
waiting for it.
you definitely
Love
didn't
that.
want to go on your own rogue lone wolf because you're not getting anywhere.
I mean, that's what I like. That's what I like about factions, you know, because in factions you always had that risk reward of if I take a shot, I show up on the map, and that was a crucial thing in such a small space, you know, where people had so many tools to find you and to surprise you. And then they fucked it up with the DLC weapons. So yeah.
And I think Gen Z likes that stuff. If you look at Gen Z, the games they play, like the game just came to my mind, but it's Extraction, but it's really like deep, massive menus and all sorts. Gen Z likes something a little bit more gameplay depth as well. I forgot the name. It's gonna Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov.
Oh yeah, Escape from on PC.
So, yeah, I mean it's just crazy, like so much shit on screen, but SOCOM would work. It would really work.
I mean, yeah. So all right. I mean, I know. Of course, like 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be against the live service game, right? Just simply because, and you know what it is? It's not really the live service game itself. It's who does it that pisses me off because they take the wrong people. Like BioWare doing a live service game. Why? Leave them the fuck alone, right? You know, fucking, you know. Marvel's Avengers. Oh, we're gonna make a live service. Why? Nobody wants that fucking shit. Like, if you're gonna make a live service game, give it to a studio that's multiplayer centric.
Oh my god.
So is Skype. Rocksteady. Fuck you, Rocksteady. Who? No, bitch. Single player. No, like, oh, it pisses me off. So it's not so much the live service game, it's who they make and force to do it. And they try to take shoehorn IPs. Hey, we got a great idea. Instead of making a Marvel's Avengers single player, great story driven with these great characters of Thor and Captain America, we're just gonna make a live service game. Like, fuck you! Fuck you! Like, nobody wants that shit. Fuck you, bro. I want my story, bro. I want a beginning, middle, and end. And I move on to the next game. God damn it.
I hate the fact that multiplayer is now synonymous with GaaS.
Oh yeah,
and that's the worst part of multiplayer.
Like the 1943 showing of Marvel with Captain America and Black Panther. Notice how everyone's excited because it looks great.
I'm not even a Marvel fan,
but it looks great. Seems to like it's gonna have a great story, great gameplay. Yes, that's what we want. We want that with Green Lantern. We want to see that with Flash, Wonder Woman. There's so many characters that we can explore. But no, they want to make Suicide Squad where you play as fucking a shark. No one gives a fuck. A shark with a gun. Are you out of your goddamn mind? A shark with a gun.
That's finally say something interesting. Because listen, he's right. The fact that multiplayer games are now married to the live service model is a complete disservice to the game genre and the game type. Because I said this on my channel, multiplayer is dead. Like, there's live service games and they feature multiplayer, but multiplayer games in and of themselves, like for me, my favorite Battlefield Bad Company 2. I mean, when you take a look at what Bad Company 2 is compared to what the most recent Battlefields have been, it's a world of difference. Like, do you guys remember stats? I always talk about how multiplayer games used to give you stats. It used to give you your kill death ratio, how many times did you shoot with this gun, how accurate you were. You used to have guns that were just part of the game. Like, you didn't have to like do anything but play the game. And it wouldn't be some weird daily challenge where you have to hit a helicopter blade 6 times, you have to bounce off a wall, go through a window, down a pipe tube, and then kill 3 people in order for you to unlock this one gun. You know, like, that used to be what multiplayer game was. And I never liked Call of Duty, but Call of Duty used to be a real multiplayer game. I remember when you could unlock the red dot without paying money. Like, I hated Black Ops, right? Even though everybody like loves Black Ops 1. But it just really, I really just didn't jive with it. I hated it. But the point is, even when I was playing it, I could see why people were attracted to it. Nowadays, it's completely different. You know, you have live service games, and what they do is that they coddle you. They really do. It's like, oh, don't feel bad. You know, you came out, 376 out of 500. Here's some coins, or you can go do this daily task, this weekly task. They coddle you and then they give you chores. That's literally the 2 things that they have. So the carrot and the stick, but both of them are the stick because none of them is fun, And the live service model is always about separating you from your money. I talk to you guys talk about Gen Z all the time. I have a little brother who's much younger than me because my parents are idiots. And I talked to him, about games, and I'm like, do you know you used to unlock this in a game? Like, not only would you get a skin, but a lot of games had like the color wheel, so you could change your skin yourself. You didn't have to pay for one outfit for red, and then pay again for each that come in blue, and then pay again for each come in black. And that used to just be part of gaming. And I tell my little brother, don't play live service games, don't play multiplayer games, because they're lost. They are lost. We cannot get away from this live service, disaster that we're going through. And I mean, loot boxes were bad, but it's almost to the point where you wish loot boxes were back. You're just like,
I am so glad. Sonic,
I fell asleep. They bought the shit out of me. Sorry,
it's okay, man. I'm just here to sing you a lullaby.
That Spider-Man multiplayer live service, I'm so glad they canceled that shit. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, oh my god, I'm so glad. I'm like, please stop this nonsense. Like, just stop taking these developers doing these half-ass, half bullshit, money grabbing, scheming. Like, fuck. It's like so.
I would never forgive EA for BioWare.
God,
I would never forgive them what they did to BioWare.
All right. JD Gaming says 6 is a bad number. They won't use that. Xbox Nitro.
Why is 6 a bad number?
Xbox Nitro doesn't even make sense. Why would they call it Nitro? I don't know.
Like it's Discord? People would just say like, Xbox, is it like a Discord type?
Rise of Ronin Backlash. And primarily because glasses. And this is interesting, right? So we're talking about, hey, AAA gaming is too expensive. We need quality AA with focus on gameplay. Rise of Ronin comes out, man, this game looks like a PS3 game. What the fuck? I need, like, GaaS, do you see, like, we can't keep any, like, all right, so for a while, like, over the last couple of weeks, 2 months, people talking about AAA in trouble, not sustainable. We need to focus more on gameplay instead of these super quality graphics that cost $300 million. Rise of Ronin comes out, quality gameplay, but not the best looking game. Everybody's bashing it. Do you see, like, where is the balance? Like, if there is I don't think there is a AAA game problem other than greedy corporate guys. In my opinion, I think it's greedy corporate guys. They want more money than they're ever making before. But let's say there is. What's the balance of releasing a AAA game that's cost effective, great gameplay, but won't get bashed for graphics? Like how do we reconcile this problem?
Well, the graphics point is a weird point to hone in on. The indies do beautiful games. Cocoon is one of the best looking games I've played. Like from an aesthetic perspective, is my game of the year of last year. You say Rise of the Ronin looks like ass. Okay, fine.
No, I didn't say that, but people are projecting that. I think it looks fine. Yes, it's not one of the best graphically looking pieces. It's not one of the best graphical pieces, right?
But it's Team Ninja, and they
focus on gameplay. They always focus on gameplay first. Team Ninja's gameplay
Wolong was my most played game of 2023, and I love that game. Wolong.
Oh yeah, I beat that game too. Yeah, graphically not good, but the gameplay was amazing.
And I wasn't expecting like graphical powerhouse from Team Ninja from Rise of the Ronin. I just expected I like Team Ninja's game. I still play it because I think like I don't trust reviews that much, and I love the parry system, so I think I might actually enjoy Rise of the Ronin. And now as the dust settles and the Metacritic snobbery settles and goes away, you will start to see people actually really start to enjoy the game for what it is. So I think there's also a lot of like with games release in the midst of other games that just sullies the view of things. Dragon's Dogma came out, and Stella Blade's out on the horizon, and people automatically were like, "Oh, Rise of the Ronin is coming the same day as Dragon's Dogma. It's not going to be that good." I don't know. I'll be the judge of that game. I don't think that's a good game to use as commentary for the state of AA games. And bro, if you're worried about AA games and visual fidelity, I can tell you right now, don't worry about it, because Unreal Engine 5 can make indies do crazy stuff. You see OT uses UE5 to create like life stuff. I talk to OT all the time on the mobile. This guy's creating insane stuff, and he's a one-man band. People are creating incredible things on UE now with the I forgot the name of the tech with the face motion capture thing. What's it called? They showed it off. The technology is available right now for the first time ever. us three here, everyone in the chat, if you're serious about learning game dev, you can learn UE5. There are courses on my Instagram algorithm constantly recommending it. You can learn learn UE5 on the job. Exactly what the PAL World developers did. Never done coding in their life. They were learning PAL World game development as they went along.
Wow.
Unreal Engine bridges the gap. Don't worry about AA in graphics. Obviously, it will come down to talent, and you'll see it. I promise you, you will see it. The definition of what AAA and AA will change, but AA will deliver greatness. Mark my words. I'll remind you every time, because you're very derisory of AA. I'm telling you. Watch the AA space. Just watch it.
Here's the thing. So, and hopefully maybe get to that level. But when people say, hey, AAA's in trouble and all that, I'm like, okay, let's look at the charts. That's all the majority of people buy. At least, like if, for example, if people want to argue,
I'm not saying
you like if people want to argue or people want to make the point, AAA space is in trouble. We got to focus. I'm like, okay,
what do you
fine.
think that means when people say that?
But what? I think people saying that when people say that, I think it's because of the budgets. Because people have this thing of you're spending money on AAA games, and that the company is not really recouping that money back when they spend $300 million, which I don't think that's the case, unless the game's a failure. Like you did, like Spider-Man. That was like the number one case. So Spider-Man 2 was like $300 million, right? And then it has the licensing rights, and everybody was saying, well, using Spider-Man 2 as a case example, it only sold 10 million, unsustainable. Insomniac and Sony can't keep doing that. Now, I disagree because I'm thinking, hold on. Yeah, I would say Spider-Man is not the case to use for that specific scenario because, number one, a lot of Sony games don't have the Spider-Man 2 budget. They don't, right? That's number one. Number two, Spider-Man has two responsibilities. Responsibility, obviously, one of them being you got to sell great as a game, but it also has the responsibility of you got to sell consoles. That counts too towards that whole. They're not just giving this big budget, big marketing simply because of the game itself. They pack it in the console because they want people to buy a PS5. And that contributes, right? That marketing and that investment, you got to count that too. Because if the game delivers 2 million console sales, then what the residual sales you get after the console's introduced to the home, because people like, ooh, Spider-Man 2, I got to get me a PS5. That money comes in, the subscription, more games that are bought, controllers. Spider-Man's responsible to not just make money on itself, but what you can do for the brand in terms of putting consoles in the homes of gamers. Certain games have that responsibility, the God of Wars, Horizon, Spider-Man. So they get the bigger budget because they have another job. While other games, if it's just strictly on the sale of the game, you might not get a 400, 300 million budget. You might get 150. You see what I'm saying? Spider-Man 2 had two responsibilities: the game sell and the console sell. And I would say the console sell is just as important as the game sell, because you get consoles in the home, you're talking even more money beyond the game itself. Subscription, first party sales, third party sales, money transactions, peripherals. So whole suite of revenue stream when because remember, we say first party exclusive sells consoles. Well, sometimes you got to invest in that game to make it attractive. And I would say a good portion of that budget is the marketing. Marketing is ridiculous. They had that goddamn thing in Vegas with the goddamn ball, whatever, right? Marketing is a lot of budget goes to marketing, but it's for a reason. They're trying to get attraction to the game and the console. Certain games have dual responsibility. So you're going to have to put in the money if you expect a certain game to be a console seller and not just a successful game. So I don't think Spider-Man is a good case subject of this is unsustainable. That's something you got to do. If you want to sell a console, you got to put in the money. You got to invest in the money.
I mean, the narrative doesn't rest on Spider-Man and its margins or whatnot. I think generally you're seeing the industry almost imploding. Obviously, it's not just... Bro, this has been talked about for many years. And it's when we say the death of AA, it doesn't mean AA. I'm not saying death of AAA. We're just going to redefine what AAA is. So it's going to be good for the AAA space as well, because right now, develop new outfits like Callisto Protocol. Like their budget was high. You get one chance, and then you falter. That's what's changing. I'm not saying AAA. I'm not trying to say that the AAA space is going to die. We're going to redefine what the budget value is because the tools are easier. In industry, studios will be more frugal about who they employ, less on contractors. Even if they use contractors, they're using something that's ubiquitous as Unreal Engine 5. So maybe this is fanciful thinking, but I want it to be back in the day of the PS1, PS2 days when you had Vagrant Story, you had your Ape Escapes, you had Fear Effect, you had all these kind of
I'm glad you brought that
games.
up, because here's the problem. Those gamers don't buy no more. Look at this is what I'm trying to say. I understand people are saying, oh, budgets, we're going to control. Sure, the industry could try that. But at the end of the day, the end all be all is the Benjamin Franklin. It's the credit card the gamer is willing to go out buy. You can make
look at Helldivers.
You can, right? Yeah, but that's two. Now I guarantee at the end of the year, the majority of the best-selling games are the big AAA. I guarantee it. Look at the catalog and look at every year. 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020. Look at the top-selling games of the year. Majority are AAA. Very rarely do you see a AA game.
AA has to sell more than AAA, but it has to sell a decent amount. Look at the margins of a AA game like Power World, Coco versus development cost. Look at Helldivers. Sony is going to be smart. I guarantee you, Brock, Sony are rejigging their whole development outfit to rejig this. Sony's going to do AA. And if anyone does AA well, it's going to be Sony. People look at AA as a stain, as like the quality dwindles and you're not going to get your... Bro, they've even said, didn't they make that statement? Was it Hiroki? We have to reevaluate how we approach our big budget single player games. They said that. But that doesn't mean the quality is going to go down. It just means that they're just going to be smarter and more efficient. And if it falls in the AA bracket, you're going to get incredible games. You and me are on the same generation where we lauded games like SOCOM, we lauded Siphon Filter and all these games. I don't know why you're reluctant to...
But my question is to you guys...
Well, hold up. I'm reluctant only because...
Okay, you
it's
go
not
first.
It's not because I didn't enjoy those games. I see, I can't avoid the reality. I'm looking at what gamers actually buy. Like Grand Blue Fantasy. That game's amazing. That game's not selling 10 million or 12 million. Like, if you want to convince developers that, hey, we are... Like, what? It depends. Like, it sold 1 million. Now, did 1 million sales of Grand Blue Fantasy make this extremely huge amount of money, or did it just make enough to keep going? Then what's the difference?
What's the development budget for that?
What's the difference, right? You know, it could be just a game where side games just made enough to keep going. But for a company like Sony or you know, big blockbuster publishers, right? They're not going to make a game that's only 1 or 2 million and just do good enough, right? You're not going to get the huge big numbers from AA, and you can't just have a system. I don't believe a system where the big publishers are going to be okay with releasing a AA game that's modest and they generated pretty good money. They're not going to do that.
It's a profit margin. It's budget cost, dev cost versus the profit, and the profit margin.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
So my question to you guys was going to be, those games that you mentioned, right? The Siphon Filters, the SOCOMs, weren't they the AAA games of their time? Because I don't know, I wasn't paying attention.
Good question.
SOCOM was.
Because the thing is, people look back and then they're like, oh, we want this nostalgia game. So I'm like, okay, but the ones that are successful, the ones that you truly want, they were the AAA games of the time. So you were always into AAA. I
don't know if they were,
right?
Though.
They were.
Okay, maybe not. Because again, I wasn't paying attention. But then the second thing is that
those games back in the days were the big games of the time.
Exactly.
Games,
so
can we assess them? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
But the other answer is that, like, for me, I agree with almost everything you say, except that you want Sony to make these games. I don't give a fuck about Sony making AA games. In fact, I actively dislike that, and I actively will go against that. Because guess what? I didn't buy Gravity Rush 1 and 2. I didn't buy Ico. I didn't buy Shadow of the Colossus. I have no fucking interest in these games. When Sony Japan closed, I was glad. They didn't make any game that interested me. 100%. Like, I'm not
Gravity Rush Remaster.
Pardon?
Man, listen, I played it.
I can't wait
I
for
mean,
the
I hate
remaster.
Gravity Rush. I
No,
mean, it's
I
a garbage
played-
game.
well, I
Concrete
played-
Genie,
I
Concrete
played-
Genie
no, I-
just came out a few years ago. Concrete Genie is pure garbage. Like, I'd rather play Gravity Rush. Like,
I
I'm
played
sorry,
Gravity
it
Rush.
is.
I'll be honest, I didn't like it. I was like, what the and I bought both. I didn't even touch 2 because 1 was so bad for me. I'm like,
Yo, there's nothing in there for you in number 2. It's pure garbage too.
I
So
didn't
the
touch
point
it,
is this.
so.
The point
I
is this,
bought
yeah?
it. So at least they got my money, but they got my
I'm
money.
fine
we
with
say
it.
we say these things. We say these things like we want these AA games, we want this, we want that. But guess what? You don't want them from PlayStation, or at least you might want them from PlayStation. But the PlayStation fan base certainly doesn't want them. I don't even know if Call of Duty,
Look at
if
Returnal.
Concrete Genie. Yeah, Journal sold well, right?
Returnal-
Because Journal is
Returnal
like a
sold
thing.
for $70,
But look at Flower. Look at Flower. What did Flower do? What did Concrete Genie? Did they even sell 1 million? Like people always talk about Returnal and they laugh at it because they only sold like 500,000 copies from the last figures that we made. So it's like these AA games from PlayStation, the
wrong.
PlayStation fan base is not buying them. And
Best game
you
this year
and
from PlayStation.
pardon? I mean,
Best game
I
this
think it's
year.
phenomenal. I mean, I spent
love
150
Returnal.
hours in it. I love
Yeah.
Returnal. You know, I will take a Returnal to every day of the week, even if they improve nothing about it, but just
Even if it's
change
AA.
things around, right? But yeah, it is AA, but it didn't
I
sell.
know.
You know, so the point is that the PlayStation fan base, like we were talking about Rise of the Ronin, for me, yeah, I am one of the people that says that this game is garbage and looks like a PS3 game, 100%. And I'm sorry, graphics matter. I didn't buy a 4,000 blah 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 TV so that I could look at a bad game. Like, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to spend 40 hours looking at crap? No, graphics 100,000% matter. On the other side, you talked about indie games looking great. Cocoon, you know, Hades looks amazing. So many indie games look amazing, right? Absolutely. But the point is, they have the art style and they are excellent at accomplishing what that thing is supposed to be. Rise of the Ronin is a Ghost of Tsushima lookalike. It is meant to look as good as Ghost of Tsushima, but it doesn't. And it looks like a PS3. It looks like a retrograde Ghost. And the thing is, it's not good. It's not good at what it is trying to do. And people don't want to say, oh, but it's got a different art style. But it's not about art style. It's about graphics. And it doesn't look good. You go into the city and there's like 3 people walking and 2 of them don't have shadows. Like I looked at that, I looked at that trailer and I was like, this is garbage.
Damn.
Like what the fuck? Like what? Like why are we trying to pretend that somehow we don't care about graphics? It is an audio visual medium. Both of them matter, and let's be honest, visual matters more to people than audio does. Even though I'm the audio guy, people will spend $2,000 on a TV and then listen to the sound from that TV. Pure unadulterated trash audio. But people would rather do that than go and buy themselves a decent soundbar or whatever. So the point is this, okay? I hate to be the party. Actually, I love to be a party pooper here because I don't care about these games. If you have one thing, first of all, you have a AAA budget, you charge $70, you are allowed to be compared to every other AAA game, okay? Secondly, again, if you're a PlayStation Studios game and you've got that splash screen at the beginning, I'm not just comparing you to any AAA game. I'm comparing you to your cohorts and people in your class. This does not look as good as Horizon, and Horizon has a bigger world. And there is no part, not a single part of Rise of the Ronin that looks as, like the best looking part of Rise of the Ronin doesn't look as good as the worst looking part of Horizon.
This is the PlayStation
And I'm talking about Horizon Zero
But I'm
Dawn,
gonna
not
tell
even
you,
Forbidden
but you
West.
know what's the funny part though? Even the casual gamers, they like apple pie and big titties. That's what they look at. They look at the TV. They see these beautiful graphics, and it's really as simple for them. Like, and that's why I didn't
buy this TV to look at something horrendous. I didn't.
Anna's just saying
I'm
the
not putting
quiet
that
part.
on my TV.
I hear what you're saying, guys, but I don't think in general, outside of Twitter and everybody's a white knight and the champion for gaming, I think the average gamer, they look at that shit, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm not playing that shit. That looks like shit. And that's it. And they'll move on to the next game. That's why generally over the last 15, 20 years, the majority of the top selling games has always been the biggest blockbuster title. Sure, once in a while
Why is it suddenly taboo to say I like graphics? Why is that like a conversation now?
But just look at
pretending.
But what I'm saying, look year after year after year, the top sellers of the year. Sure, you might have a diamond in the rough, like It Takes Two, Hades, something. But for the most part, the list is dominated with these big AAA graphical showpieces. It's always been that way, and I think the majority is just simple. Oh man, let me look at.
But take a look at GaaS. You mentioned Fortnite before, right? the thing is, Fortnite looks great for its art style. Now, I don't like its art style,
Roblox?
but when
Well,
you look at
free to
it being
play.
realized, it's like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 of very animated cartoony lifestyle, especially
very good
after the
game.
whole, Unreal Engine 5. So
Beautiful
it
game.
looks good. That's the point. The point is, it looks good. It may not look photorealistic. And again, I'm not saying every game has to look photorealistic. I like Grace. I like Hades. I like Sable. I like all of these games that take these supremely cartoony, artistic, licenses on proportions and everything. Fantastic. But the point is, they do it well. If they did it poorly in that art style, I would still hate them. Do you understand? Like, I'm not asking for every game to look like The Last of Us Part 2. But the point is, Rise of the Ronin is going for that photorealistic thing, and it doesn't look as good as Uncharted 3. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't. It doesn't look as good.
I'm not excusing Rise of the Ronin
Yeah.
looking.
So the
that
point
good.
is,
I'm just
people are
saying
going
Team Ninja
online
don't
being
do
like,
it
"Oh,
typically.
gameplay matters over." No, it doesn't. Gameplay doesn't matter over everything.
Yeah,
It matters as much as graphics.
No, it
It
doesn't.
matters as much as graphics to me.
I'm not
As
going
much
there.
as
That's
it's a 50-50.
You're just a camera guy. You're a camera guy, that's why.
Gameplay
You take
does not
photos.
matter. I'm
That's the
sorry.
cameraman.
Gameplay does not matter more than
This
graphics.
is why.
It is just as equal. Just
see,
as
guys?
equal. If
That's
you've
what we
got
have to
great
contend
gameplay,
with. I'm telling you. You'd be surprised though. As much as this is funny, there's a lot of gamers who are like that.
PlayStation gamers.
Yeah,
PlayStation gamers are like that.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
right.
sure. Like, maybe that's
sure.
why I gravitate towards
You know.
PlayStation, because they actually satisfy all three things that I need.
So
I need great audio. I need great gameplay. I need great story.
I know.
I guess.
But I
I
think
need great
there's more.
graphics.
I think in general, the general audience, if I was just a betting man, I would say the general audience are very graphic centered versus gameplay centered. They want the eye candy. Every time
I've
a new
loved
game comes
Rise
out,
Son of Rome. Then,
they
must
were
have loved that game.
Not me. I didn't. Like I said, I'm a gameplay first kind of guy.
gameplay
I'm a gameplay
sucks
first.
ass.
The gameplay sucks. Like you could literally press one button, just drop the controller, and all 5 guys die.
The
Anyway,
Order 8, the
But
Order 1886.
listen, if the
still
gameplay
has-
that was
sucks,
that was
I'm
PlayStation's
still-
version of Rise. That was literally
If
the PlayStation version of
gameplay
Rise.
sucks, I'm not playing it. But the point is, if graphics sucks, I'm also not playing it. So it's like I need both. Like, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I pay full price here. You didn't tell me, oh, pay me half because I only really worked on one. And again,
I'm not-
if I play Rise of the Ronin, I'll play it on PlayStation Plus. Cool. Because that's the kind of money you deserve from me. You're not getting my money unless you give me my whole package. And again, you are a PlayStation Studios game. I don't give a fuck. You're a PlayStation Studios game. You got that splash screen, yeah? That is where you belong now. Like, that's the category you fit in. And I don't care if you are a one-man team or a 100,000 person band. You've got that PlayStation splash screen. Those are the games I'm comparing you against. If you don't live up to the standard, guess what? You're garbage to me. 100%. I don't understand why. Yeah,
JD
go
Gamer
ahead.
said AAA games will need to be 8 to 12 hours and cost over 150 mil.
He says less than 150 million.
Less, okay, under 100. Okay.
That's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, right? And I had no
That's pretty
issues
much-
paying
and that game was
full
still
price
like
for Ratchet
200
and Clank
million,
Rift
wasn't
Apart.
That game was like
Pardon?
250. What was the
No, Rift Apart was a much smaller game. Much smaller.
No, but the
Like,
cost. What was the leak said? I forgot.
I don't think the cost was that high for Rift Apart. I think
They
people would have made
mentioned
a big fuss about it if it was more than 100 million.
Didn't they say
Because
like,
Horizon
the
Zero
PlayStation by
Dawn-
itself didn't recoup it, and then they didn't recoup it until they reached PC sales?
No.
Something.
That was a rumor
That was bullshit.
propagated by a certain fan base. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But no, the thing is, Horizon Zero Dawn the first time around was 80 million. So I don't imagine how Rift Apart manages to be more than 80 million, considering it is it's just Rift Apart. It is a 10-hour game. Like, let's be honest, Ratchet and Clank, you could get a platinum in a day.
JD Gamer says this is where Xbox is ahead of PS in solving the AAA problem. Yeah. They put it on PlayStation. Problem solved. I could do this all day, JD. I got jokes for days. You need a variety in a mix of AA, AAA, and AA plus levels games to have a complete catalog. Yep, and they're all going to be on PlayStation. Thank you very much, Phil. Rome, he says, M is the reason why they putting games on PC. Thank you. Oh, and then Clankstar. He said, just tuned in. I
put them
didn't
on PC.
expect. He says, I didn't expect to see GaaS here. Is he seeking political asylum within PlayStation Nation? We got to protect him from that. He's banging on the gates. He's like, Puerto Rock, let me in. I claim asylum. You must let me in. So I let him in. He's protected. PlayStation Nation, he is off limits until we work this deal out. He's gonna call. He's gonna sign the contract. I'm gonna get J-Dub in. We got that PlayStation contract. Stay tuned. Septic Sauce, powered by PlayStation. You're gonna start powered by the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Next time. He's gonna have a blue hat on.
That's it. We got him. We got him, baby. Team Blue, we acquired him. We'll announce the official acquisition status, right?
$3.6 billion just to get GaaS.
Last thing, announcement that Stella Blade gonna have a demo. Pre-orders are up.
I like the way you always call her Stella, not Stella.
Stella.
You always forget the R.
Stella.
He spelled it wrong with the title. Stella as a drink.
Stella Blade. And it's Stellar, right? But it's Stella. Hey, that's
Stella.
Stella Blade. Hands. We're gonna call it yams. Sweet yams, right? So I'll start with GaaS. Hey, are you interested in Stella Blade? Or
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Right?
And the funny thing is, the clip that you shared, like GaaS, is this you? When I was talking to David Jaffe about woke stuff, I was talking about Stella Blade. Stella Blade is a great game. I'm glad that developers from Far East Asia are delivering something that we find visually enticing as well, that risks that we cannot take here because the West has decided.
I don't like the West. I don't understand. Like, it's a video game.
That's what I was saying. They make a sexy looking character. I was making fun of Spider-Man. I was making fun of Fable. I was like, look at Fable's character and look at Stella Blade.
You think I'm gonna feel some type of way looking at Gears? Like, man, these guys are fucking Diesel. I don't give a fuck. even the women in Gears are fucking Diesel. I'm like, shit. Yeah, I know, but that doesn't bother me. Like, I don't know how we became a culture where we're just so, like, whatever over video games,
self-loathing, and it's just it's a weird generational thing where, but it's being imposed on like top levels. It goes deep, and I'm not going to obviously bring that here, but Stella Blade is more than the aesthetics of the woman, even though she's fit. It's more the fact to me that this is coming from a Korean outfit, and it looks like they could actually outdo Bayonetta.
Potentially, right?
And it's Soulsborne based as well, and that's my jam. So, like, all right, nice.
I don't see Souls in that game. People keep saying that, but I don't see it.
Say, I'm like, I gotta from the video. I don't know. It's
a health bar at the top, and then you can carry it. That's Souls.
You need a stamina. It doesn't have a stamina bar.
It's so broad now.
There's no stamina bar.
It's like It's like the glider in Breath of the Wild. Ever since Breath of the Wild created the glider, it went retrospectively and created every glider ever in every video game ever.
I see it more. It just, to be honest, when I saw the gameplay of Stella Blade, it reminded me of Ninja Gaiden on Xbox. It's not like Devil May Cry. It's not as flashy, but it's strategic. It's tough, but it's not Souls though. So I see the game more akin to, if you people played it, Ninja Gaiden Black on the OG Xbox. It reminds me of that type, and I see it more on that level, and I hope it is, because that was an amazing game. I absolutely love that game, Ninja Gaiden on Xbox. And it's funny. There's another game that, speaking of, got way too early to announce. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Lost Soul Aside. So
I just remember Persona screaming about it. Where's Lost Soul Aside? And that's what I remember.
They first announced in 2017, bro.
It looks really, it looked like a Final Fantasy kind of.
Yeah, with the Devil May Cry aesthetics and combat. I'm like, but fucking 7 years? Are you out your goddamn mind?
This is what the world map does to you. You can keep counting on that game for the next 7 years. Hopefully it comes out.
7 fucking years I've been waiting for this game. It's incredible. But yeah, it's a demo, and I think that's a ballsy move to release demos now, because like I said, the culture, like, people are going to download it. There's going to be a crew to talk shit about it. It's going to happen, But I think to build his name, build a reputation, Korean developers getting out there, I think that's a great idea to get their name out there, because it is their niche. The game is not, I mean, I think the marketing is decent, but at the same time, how many people are going to go out and buy this for $70? I know I'm going to buy it, but we'll see how it goes. I wish them the best of luck in this. I hope they make a good quality game, and it's polished day one, because like I said, first impression is huge. You fuck up the first impression, and gamers, man, today's culture in general, they love to thrash. That's like the number one thing. They're like sharks in the water, just waiting and hoping something fucks up so that everybody could be outraged. So I hope the game is polished, smooth performance, and it comes out right, because, it could be something where Sony's be like, hey, you did a fantastic job, let's keep going, or hey, thanks for the title, but yeah, you won't be seeing us again.
Thanks for titties.
Yeah. Thanks for the titties, and we're out of here and stuff.
I hope it's good, man, because it's good to see other regions like North Korea really make a name for themselves, and they did some so great stuff in the movie space and the film space. If you look at the cinematography and that stuff, they're definitely talented, and it gives me hope that if they can do that right, slightly disconnected, but Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I want that to be good as well. Chinese flex their muscles as well. Let's see a little bit more.
Let's see if there are black people in there.
Oh, here we
I don't know
go.
if the Koreans might, Japanese might not, Chinese. I don't know.
Wait till you see his channel. Start that.
We'll see.
Oh man,
Yo, the demo should be interesting, right? We're gonna finally see if Stella Nier, because that's what
just
it
gonna
is.
zoom in.
It is a carbon copy of Nier Automata. I don't understand why people are saying it's a Soulsborne when it's literally just Nier 2.0. And the one thing I didn't like about Nier Automata was the world. I thought it was one of the ugliest worlds. I mean, Nier Automata is one of the ugliest games I've ever played in my life. Like, it is. The character is great. 2B looks amazing. But not even graphically. Like, I'm just saying the world itself is ugly. Like, it is boring as fuck. Like, honestly, if you had GaaS talking about the industry changing as a video game, you would have Nier Automata. Okay? So, listen.
Very, very sexy game.
Stella Nier should bring us, hopefully, that's all I care about. I think the combat is already looking great. I just want to go in there and see what that open city is going to look like. Hopefully, it just looks something that is alive, and hopefully they just created something that is, graphically beautiful. Because I think gameplay is already on point. Obviously, the main character is going to sell the game for most people. So that's what I'm going to the demo to see. I want to see this world.
Shout out to JD Gamer. He says, I'm sick of this super PC world. Politically correct. I want attractive characters in games. Why would they need to be overweight, ugly, or androgynous? I don't want that. To me, if the developer wants to, a developer shouldn't be advised or counseled, no, don't make your character that way, don't add curves, keep the ass flat. No, make the big titties and ass if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But if there's like a consulting firm preventing you from doing that, I'm like, nah, you're like, gaming is, we don't do that in movies. We don't demand actresses to reduce their boob jobs. Like, they still have big titties in movies.
Well, actually, the hiring choices nowadays in movies and Hollywood and shows is massively pushing that stuff. But the today's news where Microsoft pushed it, was just
why would they, like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why, like,
overstepping. Like, why is Microsoft the arbiter in deciding what constitutes moral, like, or ethical, like, game design?
But that's crazy.
And it's so
not
sanctimonious.
Even, it's not even ethical anymore. It's just a character design.
Are you unnecessarily introducing gender barriers into your code? Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Are you female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their task? When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotion, including joy, sadness, and vulnerability? Like, what the flip is this?
Like,
they want men to have freaking estrogen in their body, man. This game
like Kratos was a dad, but he didn't have a dad bod. The motherfucker was Diesel. He was that dude had triceps the size of my back. His triceps was the size of my whole back. He was fucking huge. The dude was a fucking monster. Like,
it's insane.
Like, this is insane. You're gonna have a bunch of dad bods running around in games now with beer bellies and like, what the fuck?
I know why this is the case, though. Have you seen game developers in the studios when you see the vidocs and stuff? And without sounding rude, they seem to look certain...
They're making games that look like them. Like, bro, hit the gym, bro.
Yeah.
Hit the gym, bro. Like, this ain't it. We don't want to play characters that look like you. Like, stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not our aspiration. All right.
See,
So I don't
the
know,
thing
man.
is, I don't mind them having different body types in gaming and everything. The only thing is that do not preclude a certain body type because guess what? There are sexy females out there, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if people want to create eye candy, there are people that fully like listen. There's reasons that Brazil and everything is popular as a country, and we're not talking about its geography. We're not talking about its weather. We're talking about something very specific. And that is
That ass.
it's
That ass.
exactly that's why we're there. That's what it's popular for. When people say they love Italian girls, they're not talking about their personalities. Okay, so it's because they find that particular type extremely attractive to them. When I talk about black women being the best that there is in the world, I mean, sure, they have great assets, but it's like I care about the particulars of those assets. So that is what what I'm in for. So I don't mind you creating a quote unquote ugly character. I just mind you precluding a beautiful character from being part of the
Ever
game.
created.
So it's like have a wide diversity because there's a wide diversity of attractiveness and attractive people. So it's like cool, no problem. Have people that look androgynous or people that are transgender or people that are this. Include them all. Have black people in your games, okay? Thank you. But do not preclude, other people from happening. Like you take a look at what is it, Baldur's
The
Gate
first
3,
time
right?
in his life, he's making sense.
It's okay. It's all right. It took you a while to catch up. So listen. You have a game like Baldur's Gate 3 has a wide range of body types, has a wide range of characters that people find attractive or characters that people do not. Like there's that green skin lady. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but she's part of the promo material. And I know some people like that. I'm like, what the hell would I want a green skin person for? Like I can see up her nose. She's gonna be picking that thing up all the time. Could you imagine how distracted that would be if you were making love to that? You're just like, oh, you've got a booger right there. No, okay, no, I don't like noses that turn up. I don't. That's not attractive to me. But it is attractive to some other people, so I'm not going to tell them not to include it in their game. So that's it. And I hate the word work. Okay, this isn't work. This has nothing to do with racial relations. It's just the fact that people have taken something that was about inclusivity and they've twisted it to be about exclusivity. It's not about being exclusive and being like, oh, white people, oh, attractive people, or over proportion females, or whatever it is, don't exist. It's about saying, okay, you guys can exist, and then other people can exist as well. That's it. That's what being inclusive is. And I feel like people lose track of that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's actually well said.
Just include everybody. I'd say just let the developers do what they want. If they want to make a basic looking person with basic features, nothing extravagant, nothing, that's fine. But don't be forced where you be like, oh, I want this character to look like a goddess. And they be like, nah, you're not doing that. Add 20 pounds to her and remove the titties and ass. Like, what?
But at the same time, some gamers will look at, Thor's wife in God of War Ragnarok. She's quite attractive. But then they'll be like, oh, why isn't she in like, skin tight clothing? And I'm like, well, she wouldn't be. Like at the same time, you can't just be like, oh, why isn't this character that's already sexy? Why isn't she walking around in a bikini?
Yeah. How come
Exactly.
Naked?
It's like, at the same
PC
time,
version and mod it. There you go.
exactly. And then they'll put her in a towel and then be like, oh, this is what the game should have released as. And it's like, no, guys, now you're taking it too far. Yeah. Like, you can have attractive women. Yeah. That doesn't mean that every single one of them is going to be wearing, the Tomb Raider outfit.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the problem with gamers, like on the nerdy kind of incel people ruin the argument because you've got good faith arguments and then you've got people like that who want anything. Like even if someone has got rainbow hair, oh, the game is woke. The rest of the game may have none of that. And then they do the discourse a disservice. So it's like decoupling the weirdos from the people who genuinely want.
They take it to the extreme. Like we can't have a moderate ground. Somebody always got to take it to the edges of the conversation, and it's just it's that's exhausting. That's why
it's what makes us look
I really
bad,
talk
that's
about
what makes
those topics in gaming because it's exhausting. Because everybody tries to stretch it to the outer edges instead of saying in a moderate area where it's reasonable and it's a good balance. Like Extreme has a well balanced view. Just you have the beautiful girls, you have the average girls, ugly girls, whatever. Just don't exclude a particular group. Or try to shame a dev or provide guidelines. Is her titties too big? Like what? Don't worry about it.
And
It'll be all right.
sexiness, and how do you present that information? Because if you put all these diverse people in your game, but present the sexy person as the evil person and stuff, when they make this statement here, it goes to show what their mindset is. And the mindset is basically sexy is bad, and what they consider normal is good. And it reaffirms all our suspicions of what you're doing in cinema, what you're doing in gaming, and what your mindset is. And that's the problem.
Like you're trying to send a message for no reason. Like don't send a message saying, "Oh, like no." Some people like to look good, and yes, there are sexy people in the world. It is what it is.
Yeah, man. But that's what the celebrities, you know. Yeah. Like there's very few ugly celebrities. Like let's face it, it's the human condition. You like attractive people or people that you personally find attractive, and not everybody has to agree on what is attractive or what is not. But when you are, like GaaS said, purposefully trying to avoid attractiveness, it's like, now what are you doing? So now it's like, and especially I didn't like the conversation on Stellar Blade because clearly it is based on the person that the body scanned, right? Like they did a body scan of an actual model who actually looks like that. And then you want to be like, okay, sure, maybe
for existing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like maybe in real life her titties don't bounce as readily as they do in the game, but that's called artistic license. Okay, that is taking creative touch. Okay, maybe the boobs are 10-15%. Who cares? 50% bigger. Who's counting? It's fine. The point is the base model existed, and we just upgraded that to first class. It's cool. It's cool. Let games be games. And you know what? The funny thing is that female gamers also like female attractive characters because everybody does. Everybody likes attractive characters.
No, absolutely. My woman does the same thing. It's just like this whole thing is weird. It's a fringe group, really, really loudly having this this voice. I don't know why they have so much gravitas. Gents, believe it or not, it's almost 4 a.m.
Yeah, we're about to out. We'll close out the show. I know, closing out the show. Hey, just say your outros because we gotta close the show up.
Thank you so much. I had a great time actually. It's up to 4 a.m. I'm still awake. M made some sense at the end, but do check out my channel Septic Sauce and on Twitter. And thank you so much again for the invite, P-Rock.
Right. Thank you so much, and I feel your pain staying up late. Yes, tough, but thank you.
Take care, boys. Take care, M.
Right. Yeah. So M, we're closing out the show.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much. Hey, say your outro.
Yo, listen, people. I think I'm gonna put more videos on the channel. For everybody that was mad. So everybody that was mad about the Rise of the Ronin take, I just want you to know that you're all wrong and I'm right. And the game looks like a PS3 game and it's completely garbage because the graphics are not up to par. And when they get better graphics, when the PS5 Pro comes out and I'm finally able to give you just a little bit more, you'll all be singing his praises and how amazing it is that it looks so good now because it's had the development time and it's had the extra hardware and you all wanted a better looking game anyway. And then the second thing is that y'all don't want double games from Sony. Y'all are liars. You can stand with me and you do the exact same. You know, P-Rock, it is the reverse of what you said about the Spice Girls, right? Yeah. Because nobody's out here buying these double games. Nobody bought Concrete Genie, but suddenly everybody's a fan of games like Concrete Genie. Like, suddenly you say Concrete Genie is garbage, and everybody's like, oh my god, I love painting those wall monsters. That's the gameplay I wanted. You know, when I say gameplay first, that's what I was talking about. That's the kind of game I wanted to play at 30 frames per second on the PS5. That's the game I wanted. Y'all are liars, okay? At least I have the decency to tell you that's what I want. I want AAA games from Sony. If they want to make a Kena Bridge of Spirits, a Sifu, guess what they should do? They should go ahead and talk to other developers and partner with them and do that shit. But when you've got a splash screen at the front, you better be looking like Horizon. You better have that pitch fuzz because that's what gamers want. And guess what? Rise of the Ronin is going to sell 1 or 2 million copies and you're not going to get a sequel. And you're going to cry like, oh, why isn't there a second one? Because it looks like shit. That's what it is. That's why you're not getting a sequel for that game. PS3 has level as graphics.
No Rise of the Ronin 2. That's what you're saying.
That's right. That's right. Then you're not getting a second one. Better enjoy this one.
They should have just called.
You better play the gameplay.
They should have just called it Fall of the Ronin. This is it. Oh man,
this is it.
And you know what? I can't end the show on a better take than that. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. He's calling you guys liars. All right,
liars out here.
Your only friend is YouTube Streets Puerto Rock 77. And I want to say shout out to people who showed up. Shout out to GaaS. Thank you so much for coming through. Shout out to Extreme. Thank you so much for being here always. I truly love your takes. You really make the show enjoyable. And of course, Craig, thank you so much. J-Dub, we missed you. Hopefully you come back.
Don't forget the brain. Don't forget the brain.
The brain, the judge, the brain. Thank you so much for coming through as well, man. We truly appreciate you, everybody. Hey, I'll drop another video around Thursday or so. But you guys take care. Thank you so much for rocking. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. The growth is amazing. Your guys' support is amazing. And I'll check you guys out next week. Your only friend is YouTube Street Puerto Rock 77. Grand opening, grand closing.